Good evening and welcome to the August 6th, 2014 Board of Selectmen meeting for the town of Ashland. It is a little earlier than usual, but we have a very full agenda, so we wanted to start early because we are only going to be having one meeting in August. We are being broadcast live by WACA-TV, and if you would please join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We are starting with citizens' participation. If there's anyone who'd like to speak.
I'm not going to break your laptop, Dave, don't worry. You know, I'd like to start off, but I won't do that. Mark DeSoni, 49 Hawthorne Road. Good August evening for you. I'm here because it's been an interesting end of summer, and I'm understanding that Ashland is doing better for itself in the long run for everything that's going on. I've been going by 126 Market Basket, and what's been going on with them is I'm on the side of the workers and Arthur T, because if it wasn't for him, there'd be no Market Basket. So whoever's been shopping at other places, let them go. And I'm just saying that's putting it out there quicker, because it's worth having a Market Basket that a family goes by a family member. That's one. Two, I gone by the Stone Park concerts. Magnolia's Jazz Concert and the Studio 2 Beatles concert. And I got answers. My second show has been seen. It's been seen by a couple people. It was all positive. They all know that it came right from the heart. And whoever's seen it yet, it's not on anymore. But whoever's seen it yet, it's been good. And the people understand where I'm coming from. It was worth doing. I'm going to be doing another one. And the title of it's going to be The Turtle Around Town, or The Shell on the Road. It's going to be all about this town. It's going to be my experiences, good experiences. Another one. It took 8 months. But my dad is finally 100% better from all his surgeries, completions and all that. And today at 4 o'clock, the visiting nurse came in and finally discharged him for her services. He's at perfect health, 102 blood counts, and 150 blood pressure. He's lost 12 pounds in the surgery, but he's at perfect health right now. And we're all happy. That's why I'm upbeat now. As for myself, I'm going out to Chicopee, Springfield this weekend. This shirt says Special Olympics Certified Official. I umpire softball for the Special Olympics. Done it for 5 years, volunteer. And I'm out there for the weekend. And I know I can leave my dad in this town in good hands. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Marky.
Glad to hear your dad's doing better. Okay, anything else for citizens' participation? Okay, we're going to jump right into the agenda because we have our next person here. So this is Christine Broder, our treasurer, for a bond anticipation notice.
Right. And I'm going to hand out some documents for your signature, which you can get started on.
Yes,
Okay, a little bit longer while I speak to it.
Okay, thank you. So
There's 2 items that you'll be signing today. One are the documents in connection with a bond anticipation note. The note is for $2,941,000. It's a 10-month note, and it encompasses 2 projects. One would be $2,561,000 is for the school roof repairs, and $380,000 are for 2 projects in connection with the QECB bonds. So that's what the note is for. We had 4 bids. The low bidder was 0.4% awarded to Century Bank. The high bid was 1.35%.
Pretty good.
The other document in there, and it's for Steve's signature only, but the board has to make a declaration as it relates to the QEC bonds. And because it's a federal bond, they have special requirements, And they are asking the Board of Selectmen to declare at this meeting, and you will sign this, that it's our intention to issue bonds up to about $3.2 million, which will be the QECB amount. And the actual amount of bonds that we issue will be dependent on the grants, et cetera, that we get. Because of the way it works, Bond Counsel has recommended that we make a declaration prior to spending any money that it is our intention to reimburse ourselves for any spending that we might either interfund borrow or funds that we may get through bond anticipation notes. I think Michael can answer any specific questions as it relates to that. But we do need the board to make that declaration.
Okay.
And this is all related to our performance contract.
Okay, the Amoresco contract.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any questions about what we're doing? Okay. And is there a specific statement as to how we need to make the declaration, or is it?
It is, that should have been in your packets. There is also a copy in that, however.
Okay. Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay. Do we need to
I think that if you do the gist of it.
read this whole
and-
thing, or the gist of it?
I think if you read the gist of it and make the text of record in the minutes, I'll keep the signed copy on file for the IRS if need be, and we should be fine.
Okay. Just taking a quick reread.
Sections 1 through 6,
Okay,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, as presented.
Yeah, as
We
presented,
can put
yeah.
that in the record.
Okay. You want to make the motion, or read through it?
So, this is a declaration of official intent of the town of Ashland, Mass. To reimburse certain expenditures from proceeds of general obligation qualified energy conservation bonds. How much, do we want to just state as presented?
I think so.
The document as
Yeah.
presented?
Yes,
So-
that'll be fine.
So I move the document as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. There you go.
Then I'll just.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just have to watch over, especially Joe, you know.
No, I made sure, I was watching Alon to make sure, so,
We check each other.
yeah.
Okay.
And, Christine, maybe you can comment on when we think we may hear on these. I heard it was maybe within the next couple of
On the
weeks.
QECBs, my
Yeah.
understanding is by the end of September, is that
Okay.
correct? And at that time, we'll be in a better position. We didn't want to borrow prematurely because bond counsel did have a concern that with QECB bonds, there could be something a little bit quirky. So we decided that it's fairly easy to go to market to get a bond anticipation note, which we will then have mature at the same time. And in June, we can do the permanent financing and roll into that, these projects together with the outstanding ban that we have for the 126 engineering projects,
Okay,
and do that all in one.
great.
Okay?
Yeah, just to briefly explain, QECB is, it's a competitive program that we apply to the state for, a certain allocation. And they're essentially federal government subsidized bonds. So if we're awarded this QECB bond, then effectively our interest rate is really lowered than what we would borrow otherwise, so. it'd be-
Even
it'd
lower
be
than the
great.
.4 that we were able to get on
I
this one, or?
Doubt it'd be lower than the .4, but.
This is a long-term
Right.
financing, but there's
Right.
about a little over $4 million, I think, available from the state. So Massachusetts was allocated around $69 million, I believe, for the program over the
Okay.
course of time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you,
Thank you.
It's been
Okay.
around since like 2009, I think.
Yep. Okay, Tara, if you would come forward, please. Tara Ward, our town clerk.
Hi, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Happy
Hello.
summer. The reason I'm before you is because I have the special, the annual, hang on. The state primary warrant, I look at Joe, stop it. The state primary warrant that needs to be signed by September 2, it has to be posted, but since you're not meeting, I asked if they could put me on ahead of time, if you don't mind. The absentee ballots are available, and they have gone out for the folks that have already applied for them. So if anybody's interested, they're on the website, and they're in the office for anybody that needs them. But I did type your names on the first page on this. I'm just going to ask you to sign the second page, and I have it exactly where you need to
Okay.
sign, okay?
Great, sounds good.
Thank you.
And while you're getting us to sign that, I'm going to take a minute Thank you. It's okay. After I sign.
Is there a kind of a motion to accept the warrant or anything like that, or are we just signing?
Okay.
Do we need a motion? Yeah, do we?
Sure, go ahead. Sure. No, go ahead. You just usually just sign it, but
Well, that's fine, then if we don't need a motion,
I think
I'm
we
I'm
just-
just asking, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so while we're signing, last year, we had declared Ashland as a Purple Heart town. So the Purple Heart Day is August 7th, which is tomorrow. So just a reminder of what we did. Whereas the people of the town of Ashland have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas veterans have paid the high price of freedom by living their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women from Ashland who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas many men and women in uniform have given their lives while serving in the armed forces. And whereas many citizens of our community have earned and been awarded the Purple Heart Medal as a result of being wounded while engaged in combat with enemy forces, construed as a singularly meritorious act of essential service. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Ashland Board of Selectmen, hereby proclaim Ashland, Massachusetts as a Purple Heart town, and that each 7th day of August will be Purple Heart Day in our town, in order to honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's men and women in uniform that were wounded or killed by the enemy while serving to protect the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans. So tomorrow is Purple Heart Day. It'll be on the electronic sign. If you see anyone in the military who you know has a Purple Heart, please thank them for us, and we will be doing the same. Okay, and thank you, Tara, for coming in. Okay. Great. Moving forward, if I could ask Julie and Doctor to please come up. These are always the fun things we get to do as Board of Selectmen, is recognize people who have done some great things for our community. And I have a proclamation that I'd like to read about you, so be prepared. Whereas Julian Doctor has been an active member of the Ashland Lions for over 8 years, and most recently as president. And whereas during this time, Julian has worked tirelessly to support and enhance the organization as a whole, including establishing the Leo's Club several of years ago, which has a membership of approximately 20 high school students. And whereas Julian's efforts to create, in conjunction with the Ashland Police Department, a drug take-back program has been well received by all who take advantage of this great program. And whereas Julian has also helped to support many of the wonderful programs that are offered to the seniors in our community, including the senior prom and the senior breakfast. Julian also delivers meals to the shut-ins once a month. And whereas Julian continues to help out in fundraising efforts by providing food at the summer concerts, selling Christmas trees during the holidays, and collecting tolls during the annual Toll Road fundraiser and working the meat shoots when needed. And now, therefore, we, the Selectmen of the Town of Ashland, do hereby proclaim Saturday, August 9th, 2014, as Julian Doctor Day. We urge all residents to make known their appreciation for his devotion to the Town of Ashland, and we wish him good health and good fortune.
Thank you very much. It's quite an honor.
Myself, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
and thank you for all you do.
Welcome.
Would you like
Thank
to
you.
say anything?
I just want to say that the accomplishments should be directed to the Ashland Lions Club. I was honored and privileged to be their president this past year, but you know, the club, its members all work together, and we serve our town and our senior citizens, and you know, it's a pleasure to be part of that organization. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, those are the fun things. Okay, moving right along, and we're going to be ahead, but that's okay. Eric Heidemann from our facilities management.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Eric Heidemann, Public Facilities Director. I'm before the Board of Selectmen today seeking a variance in regards to Chapter 204 for noise. in regards to the 2 MSBA projects that are currently taking place at the Ashland Middle School and Warren Elementary. Both projects are nearing completion, but with school, the school start date approaching quickly on August 26th, we are limited on time, and with weather that has been delaying the project as well as material delays, we are looking to allow work to take place on Sundays over the course of the next few weeks to allow at least 3 to 4 additional work days to increase the speed of the project so we can hopefully be done before the start of school. Ideally, I think this will be the next 3 Sundays, and by that time, the project will be completed. The Ashland Middle School is planned to be substantially completed by mid-next week, while Ashland Warren Elementary will be closer to the start date of school. So we will be cutting things close on that project. So it's more of a safeguard just to ensure that we're done so we don't have to have workers on the roof once the children are back.
Right, okay. Any other questions or concerns or thoughts?
So I just have a question. I know your request here is from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, and I'm curious, being that it's a Sunday, I did look up, I know that the middle school has, I counted 8 or 10 neighbors that are very, very close. I don't know what type of work they'll be doing in the morning. I'm guessing they're wrapping up the rubber and doing the edge work and stuff. And I know at the middle school that Indian Spring has 6 or 7 abutters, and then some of them up, Apple Ridge. I'm wondering if 8 o'clock's not a more appropriate start time for a Sunday morning. I know that you're trying to get in as much time as you can, but, sometimes some people do like to sleep in on a Sunday, and looking at the impact for those numbers of people, I don't know if that makes more sense, or if that's a big hindrance to the process.
If I may, we actually did get some citizen calls for the Warren project, and the request that came from them was actually like a 9 o'clock start on a Sunday.
Okay.
We haven't had anything from the middle school that I'm aware of, but we did have calls on the Warren school, so I think a little bit later start would be appreciated by some of the folks that are right
Well,
there.
didn't we also vote hours for the high school project? And we did Sundays, and I think it was 8 to 5, if I'm not mistaken, for that
Right,
event. So.
I think, what I did is I popped up Google Earth and I was looking at the impact. Some of the schools, there isn't so much, but there were
Yeah,
some
Warren,
very close
there's
impacts
certainly-
there.
The
so-
Warren School especially has
Yeah,
more
there was
families and houses
right
around it.
on Elliott Street, and so, at 9, if somebody's requesting, I don't see 9 as being unreasonable. Do you think that's a big hindrance to the workers, or?
No, I think if we're just talking an 8 o'clock start versus a 7, I don't think that's going to be that much of an impact.
We might be talking
No, about
9.
9
We may be talking 9.
We've asked for
yeah.
9.
And I was going to ask for 10, seeing it's Sunday. And most people have a Sunday off. I know a lot of people do work, but I know Sunday mornings, some people like to keep their eyes closed a little longer. And I don't know about the good Lord, but working on Sundays, but I'm sure he'll frown upon us asking that. That's why I'm saying at least 10 o'clock, so that way some of the churches and some of the masses are over and done with by that point in time, though I know that there aren't any churches near the 2 schools. But I was just thinking, all in all, maybe a 10 o'clock start on Sunday, but if you guys want to do 9, I wouldn't be opposed to a 9 o'clock start. Some things with Sundays just, I've got the old blue laws in my mind, so that's about it.
You realize that the legislature just loosened up the
I'm not on the
hours
legislature.
for, well, I'm just saying, loosened up the hours for purchasing alcohol.
For
on
serving.
Sunday.
down
Well,
there.
I understand.
Yeah, so Sundays
Times are
are
moving, I know, I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah.
This is a special request. They
Right.
are trying to get this done due to unfortunate
Yep.
delays of materials availability, and I think the impact to students and the safety around having this thing wrapped up, we're probably weighing both, so maybe 9 o'clock is reasonable, from that perspective. They're gonna try to get the time in, and
Any way we can get maybe a quick note to those residents that are gonna be abutting letting them know that they will be working on Sundays, just to give them fair notice.
Well,
maybe
so
something
the
we can
feedback that
consider.
you got from citizens, why did they call? Was it because they were starting too early during the week, or?
Well, a little bit of both. We've had an issue, and again, it's only been at the Warren School so far, not a huge number, but several citizens. I mean, they were actually starting at like 6 o'clock in the morning, so we think we've curbed that. And they actually didn't work one Sunday when they weren't supposed to, because either they didn't know or whatever, and we got a call, or an email, I should say, I got on Monday or Sunday night about that. So they had asked if they do work on Sunday, can they start a little bit later than 7?
Yeah. And we could also ask the contractor, whatever things they're doing early, maybe there could be the more quiet things. There are loud things and quiet things going on with the roofing system, so So that, sending that out to the contractor to be conscientious of the neighbors and stuff, so. I know, personally, I'd be comfortable with 9 if that was the request.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it much later than 9. I mean,
They need to get this done.
right, I mean,
And
that's
weather
a
has been
concern,
good,
is
but
that,
that might not always be the case for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've had 5 days where they couldn't work due to rain, so
Yeah.
any extra days, it's really hard to tell what the weather's gonna bring.
Right. And at this point, they're probably, hopefully getting close to having the main membranes down. They're doing the detail and edge work, so that
right, I mean,
tends not to
if
be
you're
the bigger
saying
stuff.
the middle school's almost done, so for the middle school, it sounds like it might just be one Sunday at most 2
I actually don't anticipate any Sundays impacted for
for
the middle school project.
Oh, okay, so you're really just looking at the Warren School.
Yeah, more specifically, but we're just gonna do both just as a safeguard.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I think we should do 9. 7's a little early, but,
Are they the same contractors? 'Cause I guess it's one-
They're 2 separate vendors.
Okay.
Make some arrangement.
Well, That answers that question, never mind.
They'll get it until.
Yeah, well,
what was that, Mark?
It's gotta get done.
It's gotta get done. I think Paul's point that if you could say 8 and tell the contractor no nail guns till 9 or
there's
something like
certain
that,
quiet
then
things
they
that
can
can
get
be
some
done.
stuff done. I mean, they have to
Right.
be done.
I think it's mostly I think a lot of it's the machinery. They got the lulls and everything. They're running around,
Couple
getting people up
arms,
to the
yeah.
room. I mean, there's no way to get up there, so I mean, as soon as they get there, they're gonna be firing up those machines to be able to get up onto the roof and.
But we certainly could ask them to be conscientious of loud types, the radios don't go on and things like that, so.
Could we also, say 9 o'clock, and then if, it gets to be
They're gonna queue up
that,
at 8:30 anyway.
no, what I
Be
was
there
gonna say, if
8:30,
it
ready
gets
to
to be
go.
that Sunday before, if it's Friday and they need to work through the weekend, we give Tony the authority to, if necessary, have them start earlier that last Sunday, the 24th of August?
I got 10, 17, and 24 here for the next 3 Sundays, so.
So,
Yeah.
a motion to that effect, starting
are
at
we?
9.
9.
So I think I'm hearing from most, Steve, 9 good?
9's good. What?
Have you heard anything from your house?
No, no.
I haven't either. I mean,
no.
not that I'm
Because
that
home
close.
during the day, so
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
haven't,
Yeah.
so,
So
okay.
I would move that we waive the bylaw, the town's bylaw, chapter 204-3, in relationship to working on Sundays for the 2 school projects, one at the Warren, one at the middle school, for the dates of August 10, August 17, and August 24, allowing work to commence between the hours of 9 and 7 p.m., 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Right,
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We want to put anything in place that if it's really critical, they are able to work that Sunday?
Well, I guess I'd
Well, they're in
move,
place on that Sunday now to start at 9, so hopefully,
right, so I'd move that we allow the town manager to take input from the construction crew and Eric if they have to start earlier on the 17th and the 24th, and he can make that call.
okay. Can I get a second?
And also, ma'am, I would like to ask that perhaps even extend to the life of the project, say if we did run past 3 weeks, that Sundays are still an option beyond the 3 weeks on the Warren project.
Back and visit that.
Yeah, but then it's,
24.
would they work over Labor Day weekend?
That'd be, oh, yeah.
We could ask them not to.
Because we will meet again, the Wednesday right after Labor Day weekend.
So we could include the 31st
We
in
could
this, and then you
include
could be for us
Right,
again.
there you go. Yeah,
That works.
So I extend that motion to the 31st as well.
of August, okay. There you go.
Okay. We
We're not
second and vote on Tony's.
doing that.
He doesn't
For
have.
the
them.
31st?
Oh,
They
okay.
didn't
So
use
there's
them.
no change
I
orders
had
in the
seconded
sign.
that, so.
Okay.
it was
Second.
good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
That time
Something
pressure.
else there?
So we're not doing the vote
Oh,
of the
okay.
change orders. So will they come before us?
When we get, we don't have.
Okay,
yeah,
we don't have them yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Short lunch breaks.
Okay.
It's water time.
So Dave is here, but we're gonna wait just a few minutes to start. We'll start him at 6:30. If we can move to acceptance of minutes. We have meeting minutes from June 18th, 2014, and July 9th, 2014.
I move we accept the regular session minutes of June 18, 2014, and July 9 of 2014.
That's good. So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And those are accepted. Great. Okay. Dave, we're gonna let you get set up,
Great, thank you.
and then we will get started. Amazing how you think you need so much time for stuff and it just zips right by.
Yeah, been a long night.
Maybe not.
Plenty of opportunity.
Excuse me?
I got my participation short.
Well, we appreciate that, Mark.
Okay, your chickens before
So
they
you've turned the TV on and you weren't sure what you're seeing. This is the Ashland Board of Selectmen meeting for August 6th. We did start at 6 o'clock. We are just waiting for Mr. Menugian, our DPW director, to get set up, and we are going to have a conversation about an MWRA connection. And this is just the first discussion. No vote will be taken tonight. Do we need to turn the lights down, Dave, or?
That'd be great if we could turn off the main overhead lights. And
Thank you,
the
Mark.
Second and fourth switch, yeah.
There we go. Does that still work for you guys in the back?
It's the best we've looked in ages.
Okay. You're on.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm David Menukin, the DPW Director. I'm here to present information regarding a proposal to connect the town to the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority for a supplemental water source. I have a presentation that's about 10 to 15 minutes long, and then there'll be some time for questions, but please feel free to interrupt at any point with questions. I'm presenting really a summary of many people's work. I'd like to mention a number of people. Of course, the town manager and assistant town manager and town council have been very involved. Jeff Fournier at the water treatment plant, as well as our water and sewer consultants, Haley and Ward. But also two people here tonight, our water sewer general foreman, Roy Correa, and our intern, Rajita Purametla. Roy has been very helpful, providing me with good on-the-ground information. He's been a great sounding board. So whereas I have it in theory, he's done it in practice for many years. And Rajita also has provided a lot of the background information, the numbers, and we're still collecting information. It's a work in progress, but I think we'll be able to show some of the trends and some of the reasons why we feel this is the right decision.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk briefly about the history of the town's water needs, a summary of the investigations of options that's already been done, looking at some alternate solutions that Haley and Ward identified when they did that investigation, and then why the MWRA is a good choice and how we might move forward. And then next steps to move forward at that point, and then if there are any questions.
Okay.
As you may or may not know, the town currently has 5 wells that serve the entire town of Ashland as well as a portion of Hopkinton. When our current water treatment plant was built, Hopkinton helped provide funds for that, and we have a contract with them to provide water. The wells are fed by an aquifer which underlie both the wells and the Hopkinton reservoir. So the reservoir is often used, the reservoir level is used as an indication of the amount of water in the aquifer that our wells can draw on. The wells don't draw directly from the reservoir, they draw from the same aquifer as the reservoir. The level of the reservoir thus becomes an indicator of the aquifer level. Last year we used about 690 million gallons, about 167 of that were used in the production of the water, and so about 623 million gallons of finished water were produced for both Ashland and Hopkinton. Ashland used about 483 million gallons and Hopkinton 140 million gallons, and our contract with them is such that based on the proportions of water used, the costs of the treatment plant are shared. Now, Hopkinton's intermunicipal agreement with us allows them to use anywhere between 300,000 and 1 million gallons a day. Generally, over the last, in 2013, they averaged about 380,000 gallons a day. Historically, the reservoir levels have fluctuated, and we have a graph here of some of the data that we found over the last 10 years. And the blue line represents water levels taken from a totalizer, a mechanical piece of equipment on the reservoir, and shows quite a bit of fluctuation, not only monthly fluctuation based on the time of year, but also fluctuation of different years. This is the period from 2005 through June of 2014. You'll see some lines across here. This is the spillway level on the reservoir. It's at 298.35 feet above sea level. The next line down is the stage 1, which is at stage 1 where during certain parts of times of the year, if the water gets to that level, we institute stage 1 restrictions on irrigation. That level is 296.85, or 296.35, and then the stage 2 restrictions come in at 295.85. As you see, the water level fluctuates dramatically over that time period. For a few peaks during the year, we have water flowing over the spillway, which is a great situation to have. And often we are hitting that stage 1 and occasionally that stage 2. You'll see 3 major dips in here, which we're going to talk about some more in the fall of 2007, 2010, and 2013. Those are situations where we approach the bottom of what we can use. In fact, in 2007, we hit bottom. We had to turn off the wells at certain times, and we had to make an emergency connection. So we'll get into that a little more as we move forward. The other piece of information here, which is, I think, of interest to people, is not only what are the levels, but what is the demand? And so we have here, oh, that's the, go back to demand. This is an estimate of both current demand and anticipated demand over the next few years. And like the water, these are broken up by month as opposed to the water level, which is straight chronology. So what you'll see here is, whereas certain months of the year we use different amounts of water than other months, typically across a 7-year span, our demand for water does not change dramatically. We have these needs that are somewhat consistent. Generally, they've been growing over time. However, the needs don't vary quite a bit compared to the fluctuation of the water available.
Dave, all these numbers include Hopkinton.
These numbers here are actually just Ashland's historic use.
Thank you. Do you need any questions? That's a question I had.
So, in fall 2007, as I mentioned briefly, there was an emergency connection needed. We didn't have enough water to consistently supply the town, so we applied to the MWA and the DEP for an emergency connection. At that point, over November 2007 to February 2008, we used approximately 5.6 million gallons of MWA water to supplement our needs. There's a 2-step process when we make an emergency connection. There's a DEP emergency declaration, and the DEP puts regulations in place. And then there's also an MWRA emergency connection, and they have regulations. One of the MWA regulations was that the town needed to develop a long-term plan to remedy supply deficiencies and present that in the near future. As a result of that, the town hired Hanley & Ward to develop that plan. In 2013, we found ourselves in a similar situation in the fall. Again, we set up a connection through Southborough, and although no water was ultimately used, we came very close to making the decision to turn on that indirect connection. Again, MWA had a number of requirements, and DEP had a number of requirements. And I wanted to call out one in particular that was part of the DEP emergency declaration, which included, during an emergency declaration, there is no use of private irrigation systems, only hand watering. So we were fortunate that this was happening during the winter time. In addition, MWA, when it voted to allow us to connect for a second time, made it very clear that there was a premium because this was a second time, and they wanted to know what our long-term plan was. And their policy is that each time you connect, the cost of the water goes up because they're looking for a long-term solution. I should say, each time you do an emergency connection, there's a higher premium on the water that you use.
Just for clarification, if we were to be in a shortage of that level, aren't we at no irrigation anyway? Isn't that our rule?
What's at stage 2? Yeah.
If we're at stage 2, we're not allowing irrigation anyway, correct?
That's true.
Correct.
That's true.
Just want to make sure.
That's true.
Hand water at that point.
In 2011, Haley and Ward completed their review of the water supply options, and they looked at 3 different scenarios. One was making upgrades to the current water treatment plant on Howe Street. Second was to build additional wells, both at Howe Street, but also to continue developing the well at Spring Street and to put back online the old town well at Shore Road. And the third was an NWA connection, both an indirect and a direct connection. They came up with a number of different solutions. One was the do-nothing solution. There's low immediate cost to that, but I think as we've seen, there are many other costs that come into play when we need that emergency connection. The costs for the MWA water continue to rise, their requirements continue to get more stringent, and so our options become much more expensive the longer we wait to do anything. In addition, MWRA feels that the connection will need to happen at some point if we want to use their water in emergency. So we would need to find another emergency source, of which none are really available in the area. So there are many benefits to us to connect under our terms, under our time frame, than to wait for them to require us to do it. Another option we looked at was to activate additional wells at Howe Street. This would allow us to provide additional pumping redundancy. If we have more wells, we could take one offline to service more easily. The longevity of the wells would be extended. However, all the wells on Howe Street are drawing from the same aquifer. So ultimately, there's no more water. You'd just be using different wells to pump the same amount of water. We also looked at activating the Spring Street well again. This was partially installed in the early 80s. At that time, there were a number of issues, and there continue to be a number of issues with that well. There was identified contaminants such as perchlorate due to the asphalt plant right next door. And whereas those contaminants have dropped down, more investigation would still need to be done. In addition, there are sub-basin and inter-basin withdrawal issues with using Spring Street. As we've sometimes talked about, we draw our water from Ashland and then put it into the sewer system, and it flows to Boston Harbor. So whether we're taking it from one spot in Ashland or another, we still have a fundamental issue of large amounts of water leaving the area. That issue is going to become more pronounced as new DEP regulations regarding the Sustainable Water Management Initiative, or SWMI, come into play, where they now not only look at a basin as a whole, but they look at sub-water basins within a town. And how does the groundwater and how does the surface water quality look, and how are you going to be impacting that by making more withdrawals or other activities that you do? We also looked at costs at the time, and to reactivate Spring Street would be just under $4 million. We looked at reactivating Shore Road, as it was a former town water supply. There were water quality concerns there. There were also wetland issues, and again, the interbasin and subbasin withdrawal issues. Cost estimate of that was approximately $6.3 million.
Dave, can I stop you while you're on that one?
Mm-hmm.
So I know we did a lot of extensive testing on Shore Road back 3 or 4 years ago, and I think you're being nice in what you're saying here, but basically the result was we weren't going to be allowed to bring that back online. That was kind of the result because of the impact of the wetlands So it's not, what you're saying is nice, but the reality is the state was never gonna allow us to put that well back online if we tried to go down that route.
That's probably a clearer way to put it.
Well, I think it's important to
Summary.
state that, because, as this stuff becomes public, people are gonna say, well, why not, why not? And I think it's important. The same thing with Spring Street. We have really big challenges with the, DCP down there with the, that's essentially, a Article 97 site. They're not gonna allow that land to come out. We can't get to it, even though we own that parcel. So I think, it's nice to say that there are challenges, but the reality is it's almost not allowable. And maybe it's appropriate to make that statement so people really understand that, as you talk about the different options, some of these really aren't options to us. So I think
And that
it's,
swimming will have a major, major impact on that. Every town they're all talking about it, because it's gonna have major impact on communities that rely on groundwater
Right.
for their water source, and that, they're not gonna allow additional withdrawals, and communities that don't find alternate sources like this could end up with more water restrictions, be pushed into seasonal rates, where our rates would change season to season, and in additional pressure on the community to spend funds to continue to look at I&I, which we do anyways, but
Right.
to have targets that they set for us
Right.
on I&I, which could be very expensive.
right, so and I appreciate the
Sure.
approach, but I think, knowing what's gonna come from this discussion,
Right.
I think it's really appropriate to state really the facts. And those other two options aren't options to us. They're just point blank not gonna be allowed from a permitting perspective or otherwise. It's not really a dollar challenge, so.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
So then we moved to the MWA options. And really there were two options. One was a direct connection through Southborough, and another was an indirect connection, basically tying into Southborough's system. The direct connection had a very high price tag at approximately $7.8 million. And so we then started to focus on the indirect connection. Some of the considerations for the indirect connection, and also for the direct connection, but the MWA has an abundant source of water. We met with them and they told us the safe yield of the Quabbin Reservoir is about 300 million gallons a day. And currently they have customers using about 200 million gallons a day. So they have a lot of water. They're interested in selling it. They don't mind if we use it for irrigation or whatever we want to use it for. Unlike our current water, there are very few restrictions on the use of that water. There's less infrastructure investment if we take advantage not only of Southborough's infrastructure to get it to the town line, but the treatment process that the MWA has already gone through. It also provides an out-of-basin water source, and we've talked a little bit about that, in that it now allows water to come into the basin, which allows us to offset some of the water use going out of the basin, be it increased sales to Hopkinton, sales to perhaps out-of-district users at a higher rate, or increased sewer flow. So there are a number of different things that the water could be used for. In addition, from a basin point of view, ultimately it puts more water back in Ashland. There's a net increase of water back in Ashland based on this proposal. Currently, the costs to purchase the MWA water and pay Southborough what's called a wheeling charge to go through their system to cover their costs, the total cost to Ashland when it enters our system is comparable to the cost of treating it at the treatment plant when it enters our system. So although we can't know what's going to happen in the future, currently the costs are very competitive. And the second part of that is we also have to consider how they treat their water. We don't have control over what MWA does with their water. And for some people, fluoride is a concern, and there may be other issues in the future, whereas we are part of a much larger community of towns who use that water as a supplemental source. And then again, the impacts of the upcoming swimming regulations, as the town manager mentioned, are going to make this type of connection much more easy for towns compared to development of sources within town. So the scope of the project, we are proposing an indirect connection via Southborough. Conceptual plans have been developed. They were submitted as part of the they were developed as part of the MassWorks grant program last fall. A meter vault will be placed on the town line And that would allow both connections, both towns access to it, to control the flow, and then to meter the use of it. Water can be purchased on an as-needed basis. And for discussion purposes, we've talked with Southborough, we've looked at our needs. Currently, we're proposing that we would purchase a license to use up to 180 million gallons a year. And so that you would compare to the 640 million gallons a year that we're pulling out of our, Mark?
All right, so I really have two questions. One is maybe a dumb question, but if we're going to Southborough, can you just explain to myself and perhaps the viewers, what's the difference between indirect and direct?
Oh, sure,
And then
sure.
I have an estimate question.
So a direct connection would be where we own the pipes and have easements across the land and maintain the connection all the way to the MWA system, the water line, which runs from the Quabbin Reservoir to treatment in Marlborough, then runs through a corner of Southborough on its way to Boston. So we would be tied directly to the MWA system.
At what point? At the
At a point
corner
in
and
Southborough.
At the corner in Southborough you're talking about?
Right, exactly, exactly. So,
Crossing the Pike, crossing 9,
yes.
it's all the way down.
We're looking at Oak Hill
five-
Road, that whole area coming
Yeah,
down that way.
that was presented to us a couple of years ago. That's why
Right.
that's 7 million, so we're crossing major thorough, I mean, it's all doable, but it's, the costs are much
And
higher.
then the indirect connection is where?
The indirect connection would be on the town line where we would basically, their pipes are near us, and so basically we'd be adding a couple 100 feet of 12-inch pipe, and then we take advantage of their system. Part of the indirect connection, part of the cost includes upgrading the pumps that they have so that they could always provide the pressure to get it to the edge of town, to get it into our system as well.
All right, so thank you. So the other question I had is, as this is presented as an alternative plan to have a way to address a water shortage, it says right here, the conservative estimate are for using up to 180 million gallons a year over the next 5 to 10 years. But in our worst-case scenario in '07, we only used 5.6 million gallons. So why are we estimating that we're gonna use that much
Sure.
water?
No, it's a good question.
Versus the little we had to in the emergency? Not that 5.6 is little.
Put it on to people.
If 180 was a starting number, it's a sort of a planning number, and it took in consideration the 5.6 million, which was used under duress, if you will,
Right.
under conditions where we weren't allowed to irrigate and where we didn't have additional needs from Hopkinton. So what we are proposing is we would have enough water so that we would not necessarily need to implement quite so stringent irrigation regulations during the summer. Irrigation is an important use of water for many of our customers, so we're trying to balance the interest of our customers along with other interests that the town has for conservation. As well, the Hopkinton has come to talk with us, and since that time when we used the 5.6 million, they've identified that their needs have grown quite a bit. So basically, of the 180 million, half of that would be water that Hopkinton would want to use.
I think the other piece of that too is obviously development and things that have happened, since 2007 and looking out into the future. One of the things that, in the meetings that we've had, obviously is developing some partnerships, Hopkinton being one of them, but there are other potential, folks too that may, be able to be, in a partnership with this. So some of that, gets factored in as well, as we look out into the future. So, really the thing with this is it's on and off as you need it. So, you don't have to pay except for what you actually use. So, you can set the bar high and not really be worried about ever, getting close to that. So I think there's those planning factors as well as, probably a fairly conservative buffer that's in that number.
And I understand that you want to have a comfortable margin. I guess I asked the question because as Paul says, I expect certain questions to be asked by some of the community as this moves forward.
Right.
I think it would be very important to be able to delineate the 180, and then if in fact the portion of the 180 is going to be sold to others, I guess I'm assuming that there's a cost to do the indirect connection, but then there's a cost for the 180 million gallons also.
That's a
Right.
usage.
So that's a
right.
huge cost, so I think that the citizens are gonna be interested in understanding where all that money's coming from. And if you're offsetting half of it, because it's going out of town, that's good. And if the growth indicates you need the rest. I just think the picture isn't sort of clear enough. You have to be able to sell the plan.
Right.
So just to kind of dovetail with that same question a little differently is, you know, on one hand, we're talking about a connection to be used on an as-needed basis. And then the next breath, we're talking about the fact that we're gonna be using up to 180 million gallons a year from the MWRA. Now, again, I'm assuming that that development of all types is fueling this.
It's a very good question, and I should probably back up and explain a little more why we use that number. When we pick a number that we request from the MWRA, it's a license to use up to that amount. So for planning purposes, we decided to be very conservative. As Mark said, we pay an entrance fee, which is based on a license to use. If we use 10 of the 180 million, we've still paid the entrance fee for 180 million. We also look at the development going on in town, increased use and fluctuating use during the year, as well as trends in rain and precipitation to see how the reservoir is refilling. So really, we don't think of the 180 as the average. We think of the 180 as the worst case. The worst case being we haven't gotten rain for quite a while. The reservoir is very low. Hopkinton's demand, per their current contract, is 2 to 3 times what they're using now. We have continued growth in the town over the next 5 to 10 years, and we want to make sure we can supply water.
As does Hopkinton.
As-
Their planning growth far exceeds our growth at this point in time. So my concern would be that the figures that we're looking at are skewed because we're dealing with a potential bill from Hopkinton that they're paying us back, but at the same token, the townspeople don't truly understand that figure is coming from, the water use out of Hopkinton. They think they're paying that bill. My concern is, you made a comment earlier, is that every time that, and this is a temporary usage, on-demand use only. Well, you said that the MWRA's cost goes up every time we have to use that demand.
For an emergency. Emergency connection.
Well, emergency connections, so let me ask you this. What is the difference between the emergency connection and the temporary connection, which will be used on an emergency basis?
This isn't a
It's a good
temporary
question.
connection,
Well,
right? This would not be a temporary
permanent
connection. This is a
temporary
permanent
Well, it's a permanent temporary
connection
connection,
that we
but
can
only-
turn on and turn off.
for what purpose, though? Emergency purposes, correct?
No, for any purpose.
Well,
See, that's
that doesn't sit well with me, then.
So, to clarify, as an emergency connection, we don't build a permanent pipe
Right.
underground connecting. We connect as needed. And they have a premium of about 10% the second time, and then it goes up another 10%, so 21% the third time. And then the costs go up, and then they start to implement further requirements on us. This connection would be considered an as-needed connection in that we're paying to put the permanent physical connection in the ground, and we're also paying a license to use water as we see fit.
Okay, but it's only when we need to use that water.
Only when we need to. If we find that it's a great year in the reservoir and it's cheaper for us to treat the reservoir water and use that water, then we don't turn on the MWRA connection. If it's a tough year and we're getting paid by Hopkinton because they want more water, and we're getting paid by other out-of-district users in excess of what it costs us to use the MWRA water, then we turn the MWRA water on because it's a profit center for us.
So just to expand on that a little bit, so we have an aquifer that we currently draw from. Do we anticipate SWMI, Sustainable Water Management, to change the maximum amounts that we can draw from that, putting pressure on us to consequently use this, which isn't necessarily now an emergency connection. It's a secondary source. We've got a primary source, we're sole source now, correct? We're identifying a primary and a secondary source. So I guess that's one question. And then a secondary question is, how does conservation play into all this? How do we manage conservation when we basically have identified an unlimited source of additional water?
So to the first question, as far as how swimming might affect our current permits, our wells are permitted wells with the DEP under the Water Management Act, and the swimming regulations would definitely apply to them. I don't know if there would be immediate impacts. I don't think so, but I'm not really sure.
Well, one of the issues with swimming that has folks very concerned, water supply is very concerned, is the fact that they're looking to actually put caps on withdrawal. And they're actually looking to use data from 10 years ago, usage data from 10 years ago adjusted at 5% a year as the cap. And so swimming is actually is gonna drive communities that use groundwater for their primary water source into these type of solutions to ensure that there's reliable, sustainable, water flowing to communities. And communities that solely rely on well water are gonna be, really pushed in these directions. And if they don't go there, they could end up with caps that don't fit with the community's growth. They could get pushed into forced water restrictions above what we already have, as well as seasonal rate changes, which obviously affect the ratepayers. So swimming is all, sort of built around the fact that, they're trying to balance, obviously communities' needs with water with sort of the ecosystem that surrounds these basins and inner basins. And the fact that they're now gonna look at sub-basins and going into even, sort of smaller looks, every community is gonna be a little bit different in that regard. So I think as we looked at this and saw that over the course of, 6 or 7 year span, we, saw those major dips, that it was, really a duty to look at the future and to ensure that Ashland and Ashland residents and businesses have a continued viable, sustainable source of water. And continue to draw more out of our aquifer is really not as a solution as you saw. So I think a lot of this is going to be driven, and there's a lot of cost associated with sort of staying the course of what we're doing now that will get pushed by swimming, that'll actually have significant financial impact, on the community. So a number of communities, Natick included, have written letters, related to some of these concerns and how swimming plans on being implemented, across the state.
Right.
So I'd like, Paul, did you have another question
I
or
have
comment?
a few things I want to speak to, so do you have
Well,
some-
I was just gonna say, I'd like, it sounds like we as a board have a lot more questions, and I would like to let Dave get through his presentation. And then I think we need to schedule another session, a televised session where all we're talking about is water, invite the public, and have a further discussion.
So I'd like to
But
just state them,
go
because there's a
ahead.
couple of things that were said, and I want to more or less clarify. So one, you spoke of Hopkinton's looking for more water. And tell me if I'm wrong, Hopkinton's looking to utilize up to the 1 million gallons a day that they are in contract with us.
That's
They're not
correct.
getting beyond that.
No.
Because people will pick up and say, oh, we're gonna provide water to them. Right now, they've been very generous. In hard times, we've gone to them, asked them to not draw, and they haven't. So you made that statement. I just want to make that really clear.
That's correct.
They're looking to utilize the permit they have potentially to the max.
Exactly.
Okay. The other thing was the entrance fee. I know, having sat here for 10 years, and it's been talked about for a long, long time, every time the conversation goes to MDWRA, every year that fee seems to grow and grow and grow. So that fee, right now you talk about they're gonna penalize us for an emergency one. It would be nice to lock in the fee for the amount of water, and I think it's wise to look at the big picture, and then that fee is paid once and it's over, versus us running a much bigger risk of having that fee go up and up and up. 5 years from now, it could be double what it is today, so.
And the timing of that's very important, because right now there's a water infrastructure bill that's on the governor's desk. Part of that water infrastructure bill will waive up to 50% of the entrance fee. So, there's a number of sort of things coming together in terms of opportunity related to, offsetting, some of the costs, because the entrance fee is, fairly high. The other part of it is they allow you to finance that entrance fee over 20 years. That's beginning to sunset in the next couple of years where you won't have that opportunity to do that. So there's a number of other factors that we can get into with the board in terms of the financial aspects of this and why this is the right time to look at this seriously from a number of different angles. You know, obviously finances being a consideration that we all, you know, look to, as well as the water.
Just one more point, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So, both of these options that you're talking about are, in theory, permanent connections.
That's correct.
One is a pipe right to the source, and the other is a pipe through Southborough. But in theory, neither one of those are temporary. Both of these are, in fact, permanent connections to the system, the MWA water system. They're not temporary. Yes, we could turn one, you know, we would draw, but that would probably be true of both connections. We could draw as needed of either type of connection, but they're both, in theory, permanent connections to that system.
That's right.
That's all I want to say.
And the other thing, you know, we talk a little bit about Hopkinton needing more water and possibly other places, is that is then income to help cover these costs. So it's not like we're giving people water, they are paying for the right, just like we are going to pay MWRA to use their water, we will then pass that cost on to people who are also then, you know, utilizing this connection that we've put in place, so.
And I'm
Okay.
assuming that if we don't use the water, we still have to pay that.
Well, we pay the entrance fee, we don't pay the
Pay
usage
the
fee.
entrance fee,
just-
if you don't
and
use
it's
the
a
water, you're
one-time
not paying
charge,
for the
right?
water.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So that's why it's good to get in
Right.
sooner
Okay.
than later. It's any typical situation.
A lot of great questions. They anticipate another slide I have coming up, which is a budget based on this one scenario for how we might move forward. But as we move forward, I want to talk a little bit about a potential timeline. I'm here tonight providing some preliminary information to you. And as you suggested, we can hold public hearings and workshops to meet with different boards and committees over the next few months. One of the key items to connect to the MWRA system is that they do require a town meeting vote for the town to vote to connect. And if that were done in the fall, we could work on design through the winter. There is a significant amount of permitting that would need to be done at the state level. And so that would help, that would determine when the construction might start. But generally, we feel it'd be around a 3-month construction window that could happen the second half of next year. So as far as a budget, many of you are familiar with the MassWorks application that we submitted last fall. It had some information in there regarding this connection. At the time, it was identified as an emergency connection only, and it had $400,000 set aside for the entrance fee and $1.1 million for construction. And that grant request from MassWorks was for $700,000. Since that time, a few things have occurred. We've had that second emergency connection where we had to tie in last winter. Hopkinton approached the town identifying their needs in almost 100 million gallons of water there. And at the same time, we had what I'll call out-of-district users. The MWA would call them straddle users. Others, be it towns or developments, approaching us, asking if they could tie in. And so we look at setting rates where the cost of the water is covered and there's a premium to serve these out-of-district users. If we've already paid the entrance fee, we can make a profit. It can be profitable to be able to serve these other people as well. This is a budget for the 180 million gallon scenario. The design and construction costs for the vault would be just over $2 million. And the license to purchase 180 million gallons of water a year would be about $2.4 million for a total of just over $4.5 million. Now, as Tony said, there are a number of different grants and opportunities out there right now, and there are windows of opportunities. So from the 4.5 million, there's 700,000 that the MassWorks would cover. So that puts us at 3.8 million. With Hopkinton as a partner, just like we did with the treatment plant, they would pay for half of the construction cost of the vault. So instead of 2 million, that's 1 million. So now we're down to 2.8 million. As Tony said, there is a legislation such that we could apply to have the state cover half of the entrance fee. So the entrance fee goes from 2.4 to 1.2 million. So we go from 2.8 to 1.6. So with the current grants and opportunities in place, the $4.5 million project becomes $1.6 million out of pocket for Ashland. In addition, as Tony said, the balance of the license, the 1.2 million, could be spread out over 20 to 25 years and incorporated into our rates if we chose to go that way, as opposed to a lump sum upfront. So that's one scenario with current opportunities in place. As we move forward, we're going to be fine-tuning those numbers. We just got some information this week that suggests 180 million is probably high. So we'll probably be looking at that number again to drop it down. But this is a starting point, and I just wanted to provide that information. Any questions on this budget?
I'd say those additional points are good, and if you could actually add on the revenue you would expect from Hopkinton and other out-of-district users, you may show that it's
Well, those figures that you just provided
A
us, that would be
no-brainer to
great
do
on
it.
that, on the slide.
Okay.
That would help probably answer a lot of questions. Definitely answered a lot of my questions just now. I just,
Right.
kept my mouth shut just now.
Yeah,
Thank
depending
you.
on who those some of those out-of-districts, there may be additional funding that we can
Right.
negotiate to help even lower that.
Right, if
somewhat.
there's other out-of-district connections that we know definitely want to be made, if we can include that to help offset our original cost, that would be
So,
good.
I guess, to your point, so inside of the contract for Hopkinton, you can't, I assume you can't charge them a premium up to the million a day.
Original.
No, but they'll be putting in money for, obviously,
They're gonna
for
do
the
part of
major
the
part.
construction, so that recurring wouldn't be a profit, but it would be other out-of-district.
There's probably, what, 8 or 9 years left on that original 20-year contract?
I think so. I think it's about right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're about 11 years into that plan, I think, so.
Was it the 20-year plan
Yes.
together?
So,
So I know we're looking at dates tonight for our future meetings. I'm thinking we need to add an extra date in September that's just this information, again, with a little more detail, based on some of the questions we had, but invite the public. We can start with questions, but then open it up to the public for questions as well. And then, similar to what you did the last 2 times for town meeting, is as part of your public workshops for town meeting, it could be part of that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that for October.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
No, good.
Thank you.
Anything else
Thank
from
you.
you?
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Good job.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Yep. Moving on. We have presentation from the Downtown Collaborative with some information on the downtown sign project presentation. There was a nice article in the local town pages. We'll just give Dave a second to remove his stuff. Yep. Did you want to use the projector in the screen? If you have it on a computer? Okay. On one of the, okay. So just swap computers and. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Board of Selectmen, town officials, and people at home and our audience here. We are giving a presentation tonight. I'm representing the ARA Subcommittee, the Downtown Collaborative, and I'm just new in this process, kind of got in the last few months, and most of this was facilitated by Enzo Scalora, our past ARA chairman. And what we did is,
And you are? Your name?
Andrea Green.
Okay.
You
You didn't say that.
Oh, I didn't say it? I thought I did. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll get used to this.
Yes, you will.
Okay. So, the Downtown Collaborative was formed because the ARA did some public outreach on what were the kinds of projects that the townspeople wanted to see happen to improve downtown. And we kind of put together a short list of things that would be more short-term projects and longer-term projects. And then from the short-term list, we decided to focus on the downtown wayfinding and signage and how we could improve that. So we had members of all the town boards and committees. We had business representation, finance committee representation, and the collaborative came together and went through a process. And Brian Pierce, who's here with us tonight, came as our consultant from the OnLoop company and has put together a really thorough and I think very well designed presentation for you to show you what we could possibly look for some beautiful signage and wayfinding improvements in downtown. So I'll turn it over to Brian.
Yeah, no, I just moving this stuff.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like it's on here already. Yeah. What do you think? Probably this guy?
Yeah, this needs to. His name used his last name, so it's easier.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this the presentation that was on the other one?
Yeah.
Oh, because we had the feed going directly to us so that we'd be able to
All right, you
broadcast
want to
that.
try it out?
Yeah.
Just got to get it up to the.
Pretty big.
Like that's not.
You'd be surprised. how big
Maybe
they
move the
should be.
table a little closer.
They're nice. They came out pretty nice. Beautiful. You know what's nice is these tables and you see them, and there's this bunch of pictures that show the sign and then what a human looks like next to the sign to give you a better perspective.
Actually, we can. Oh, I know why. Because it's going to be up on the TV screens.
Oh, okay.
So.
So it won't be here. That's okay. Okay.
Be able to see if it's.
So people
That's
can
okay.
see it, we got it here, so.
Yeah, we have it.
Just, I
So.
can page you through the document.
Yep, that's
It's
fine.
easy. Okay.
There are a couple of extra copies if people in the audience wanted to follow along.
It's on the screen behind you. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
people see at home.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Great.
Get my spectacles on here. Thanks for inviting me out tonight. It's been exciting working with the town of Ashland. I enjoy working on these projects because not only because of the subject matters, because you get to learn a little bit about every community every time. So all of a sudden things like the Warren Conference Center started to make a lot of sense. I learned about Henry Warren and the very cool building on the corner on 135. Like, oh, that's the Telecron building. So it's fun to sort of dig into a town's history with this. Just a little bit of introduction. As Andrea mentioned, there's a lot of things you can do to improve a town. Some very big ticket items. It'd be nice to come in and redo all the street lights and all the planting and all the trees. And there's also, so there's a whole host of things that would work together to create a great experience for a downtown. Signage is one element of it. And it's also something that many communities are doing now because it's achievable. I mean, for like some of the numbers you saw for the water resources, for a fraction of that, we can do something that has a lot of immediate impact. So a lot of communities are like, as I mentioned, are doing it now. Portsmouth is doing it, and Brookline, Watertown, Framingham. We're ahead of Framingham in terms of that. So it's, Enzo brought me in. I've got years of experience doing this, and I also try to approach it from a very practical standpoint because in the end you are putting, it's a capital cost, you're putting something out in the street. It's another item for your DPW to maintain. There's safety and code issues too. It's, you know, it's out in the public way. It could be hit by cars, so there's a whole practical side to it. But the study we've done at this point tries to answer basically 3 questions. What would make sense for Ashland in terms of what types of signs, basically what they could look like. That's a hard thing to achieve consensus on, visually what they could look like. And then at least some inkling of budget, how much it would really cost, and perhaps it could be done in phases over time. So, and then the reason for doing it is, I think in the essence, it is an economic development issue. It's really trying to, Ashland's got kind of a stealthy little downtown that most people drive through unless you live here. So signage tends to do sort of 3 things for you. It provides some very clear orientation, which is a good experience for people both who live here and who are coming through. It also, I'll show you the first slide. It also contributes to the overall beauty and basically upgrade of the physical environment. And 2, frankly, it's a little bit more marketing for the downtown too. It's essentially creating a sense of place instead of just driving through. You know, okay, I'm entering downtown Ashland. There's helpful directionals and orientation and some branding. So I know I've been there and I might come back. And it also gives the merchants some inkling that we're reinvesting in the town and basically trying to draw people in. So that's kind of the big picture rationale. As I mentioned, this study gets us to kind of where they go, what they say, what they might look like, and what they might cost. There's still another step of finalizing the detailing and sort of the rollout and the technical issues of it. So this is a good first step. And I'll just, I know we don't have tons of time, so I'll just page through the document a little bit. Page 2 sort of gets to our why we're doing this. And this is essentially the current signage in Ashland, and there's a couple issues here. At first brush, there's I think that one of the initial driving forces was, let's see if we can generally clean up a lot of the old signage. And also those crazy signs in the median, can we do something with those? The event signs, those are have always been an issue. So this kind of leads us through some of the various sign types. This was sort of a first survey of the sign types we might consider for Ashland. The very first one on the top left, we're really not going to touch the overall welcome to town signs. We're really focused on the Main Street area, and those were just relatively recently done, so we'd want to preserve those. But really, it's really starting at the second one there where it says Business District in Ashland Center, and that's kind of, oh, I have to do it? Yeah. Thanks. Oh, so I haven't been following along, have I?
I don't know that those are,
It is.
They're in there.
I don't know how clear those are, actually. Ahead of,
oh, you're way ahead.
let me just
You gotta go back. You gotta go
Yeah,
back.
let me back. I'm way ahead.
Way back.
Thanks, Enzo, for, so let me just go way back.
Keep going.
It's gonna be a lot clearer on your handout.
Yeah, but this way the people at home
Yeah, sorry about
can
that.
see it. That's okay.
Sorry about the folks at home there.
There you go.
Okay. So I'll try to dual click through here. Oh, I can do it here. So, in a nutshell, let's see. So we're touching on the downtown business district entry signs, how to handle the events, and we're really talking about public wayfinding. We're not talking about any type of merchant signs. Those are basically on their own. They will have their own flavor. We're trying to provide a clear, connective wayfinding system in the public realm. And then you can see sort of we are going to try to touch and replace some. You can see, for example, some of the signs in front of the historic. That's kind of my favorite shot of all the clutter of signs there. See if we can reduce or eliminate some and just introduce some nicer hardware at the same time within the DPW kit of parts. So let me just see if this clicks forward. Yeah. So just a little bit about our process. We looked at potentially all the destinations and attractions in Ashland, and there's actually quite a few. And this is where I'm saying it's fun to learn about things that you live next to but you don't know about. For example, the town forest and Marathon Park. The Stone Park is a big draw, not only for Ashland but from around the area, basically. So this is kind of our short list of, not to mention the MBTA station, which pulls a lot of people through downtown. So this is our short list of destinations, and we also agreed on how we were going to name these things. And this is way too many things to put on a sign, just in terms of trying to put this on a vehicular sign. You really can only have 3 to 5 messages, so we do have to boil it down. And this might be what we put on a downtown Ashland map, perhaps. We have some more space and time to look at this. But in terms of what might be on a vehicular sign, for example, we really are looking at a short list of this, and we're still open for comment here, but this is what we've boiled down with the committee as sort of the key destinations, both if you live there and if you're passing through. And a key element would be the identifying 3 public parking lots, so there's no perception of not being no place to park. So there's 3 very good parking lots, public parking in terms of Main Street, Front Street, and Homer Street. And then also the connection to 135 and 126. And then don't expect anybody to actually read this document. I have a PDF. This is a large plan. The square is essentially the area of our sign locations. And this essentially, I can share this electronically, but this essentially plots out exactly where we're putting new signs and their exact messages. And it's not as bad as it looks. It's, the messages are large, so you can read the plan. It's actually not that many signs, and we're just concentrating now on the Main Street area. And then from a more of a branding and aesthetic side, before we got into design, we talked a lot about, well, what is the character of Ashland, and what is more of the character of the downtown. And we, Enzo was a big help here. We kind of arrived at history, community, and creativity as being our mantra or yardstick for everything we do. So things should be rooted in the history a little bit. Things should also be very welcoming, as it's a very personable, community-based area. But also we want to have a little bit of spark of creativity, which is starting to come in with like the farmers market and things like that. So we don't want to be dull and historic like a lot of other towns, but also bring in, and also recognizing a younger demographic moving in too. So being a little sensitive to some of the people that we want to attract or move into Ashland. So we tried to, in everything we do, achieve those 3 vision statements, basically. And then just a little window into our process. We essentially look at certain elements of the downtown that we can extract and use in our designs. Some of the classic barn buildings, and in that classic train station, very simple, more historic materials, but not overly ornate materials. And we had a lot of discussion about the clock being an icon. A lot of communities use the clock, but we kind of came around and said, you know what, we can embrace the clock. There's a real history here of that manufacturing. It's legitimate, so let's bring that forward. So either some of the aesthetic parts of that, either the workings, the turn of the century aesthetic was something that found its way in. And then the inspiration is a exercise of just what appealed to the design committee in terms of what felt right for Ashland. So these were certain images. We kind of did a little sorting and voting and came to a short list. The next page, in terms of aesthetic, talks about taking some of the materials, the granite, the black, the bronze, the copper, and brass from the workings of the clock, and the brick, and how we translate that into a color, more of a graphic color palette. And we hope that those things say industrial, artistic, rich, and historic. So these are our marching orders going forward. And then here's where we are today. This is our conceptual lineup. So what we've done here is identified the most important sign types that we can introduce into the downtown, and elevated them, showing them to scale, and the proposed colors and designs here. So these are the sort of the first components you might experience One being a downtown marker. Essentially, we would have several of these at the various entry points to the downtown area, kind of acknowledging that you're actually in a downtown Ashland area, which is a slightly more concentrated district than the town itself. So it gives the downtown a little bit of presence, something to hang on to. And then there'll be some selected, we call downtown directionals, and they have as I mentioned, a very simple hierarchy of information. For example, library, parking, town hall, MBTA station, and some key arteries. Typically, these signs have to be large enough to be clearly legible for safety and turning with cars, so they have reflective copy, very simple type. You do end up with a large back on the sign, and somewhere in the committee we had this idea of using that as a potential place to put a historic image, because drivers and pedestrians will be coming down the opposite side of the street instead of seeing a big blank sign. It's a nice opportunity to have what we call a postcard in the street, basically. So we'd work with the historic committee and find maybe a dozen iconic historic images to use there. It could be nice. Then the next in the series shown here would be, if we can, we might replace the giant mass dot highway trailblazers, which are really overscaled. We can actually use the same size icons, just organized in a more streamlined manner. So that's one that says 9, 90, and 495. And then sort of a key thing for people visiting downtowns is sort of an instant read on public parking, and that's the last sign there, sort of this universally recognized P, and an attractive sign that would both name the lot, so hey, you should park at the Front Street lot for the farmer's market. And I'll just go through the rest. And then some of the other elements, left to right again, the speed limit sign shows how we might stay within the mandated DOT graphic, but improve the post, make them all straight, yank a lot of stuff that we don't need, paint the backs, and then just doing that will be a nice visual improvement. And then selected intersections, we would replace the standard sign with a more, I'll say, unusual or eye-catching or more interesting street sign that still meets the legibility standards, but it makes you think, aha, I've entered a different area. And there's some conceptual designs for a kiosk, which would probably only be in 2 or 3 locations. Maybe there's one at the MBTA station, one near the library, or perhaps one near maybe the farmer's market area, which would essentially be a map of downtown and of Ashland and the surrounding area, and talk about everything you can do within that. Basically identify all the possible destinations and amenities in the town. And the flip side could be another area where we could talk a little bit about the history. And then the last element shown there is addresses how we might handle the current event signs in the medians, and we're thinking about pulling them out of the medians because they just, how they look, they get blown over, damaged, and do more of a high quality sign in 2 locations where we have
Just 2?
We're thinking just 2 at the moment. As you come in, we haven't, you could potentially do one on 135 going towards Hopkinton too. There's also the stanchions there. But we talked about just 2, I guess it would be near Homer Street, and then coming the other way, there's a town property on Pleasant and Main Street. And these would be a little more controlled. Someone like the farmer's market would essentially buy a 18 or 24 by 36 panel that they could either permanent letter or permanently put their logo and change the dates, but just keeps it more organized and clean looking. I think it's actually kind of innovative. You don't see a lot of towns. We really work to this problem very hard, that changeable aspect, because most towns just put up signs on bungees or the real estate signs, and it kind of contributes to the overall clutter. So I think this could be interesting.
I have a question on that.
You bet.
Because this is really a pet peeve of mine. Well, not a pet peeve, it's how many events will be posted on that one specific sign area for town events? Because there are more than 3 events that usually go on at one time in town. And everybody is vying for space. advertising space. Schools, their events, town events that we have, just not the farmer's market. There's more than just the farmer's market in this town.
Absolutely, yeah, there's the
Summer
Lions
concert
Club.
programs that go on, there's other
Mhm.
cultural events that go on in this town. So, you know, just 3, that's why I asked how many locations and how many events will be listed, because there is quite a few.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think I had it up to 5 at one point, and I think with the committee, we kind of came down to 3. There's flexibility in there. I mean, we can make either more
As long as there's flexibility, that's
flexibility,
great, that's
yeah.
cool.
But it would probably be
Yeah.
good as we move to the next phase to really look at how many happen and how many overlap.
Sure.
Yeah, we were trying to balance, Joe, kind of the visibility of each sign versus the number, the
Yep.
quantity that you.
Well, I
could
know
put
that
up
we
there.
spent a ton of money on signage, and we tried to keep it as professional as we could. And unfortunately, other people don't do what we did as a committee over the years. And we don't mind spending the money, but we don't want to be shut out on this either. I'm talking about the Ashland Day group and everything else that they do with it, so.
Well, the other thing I think that might be up for discussion is how many you have and where you have them, because even though you're looking at downtown right now,
Yeah.
I would think that when a decision is made as to what this is going to look like, we're gonna wanna have other ones in other places in town. I mean, I can think of, right, I understand it's a funding issue, but I think it's the kind of thing where if we're gonna do something like this, we have to be consistent. So, you know, I can see, on 135 and on 126,
But-
that we would need to look at
So, Madam
this.
Chair, the intent of the committee was to come up with a standardized format.
Right. Oh, no, I understand
And then
that.
decide where around town
Right,
that
no, I
standardized format.
understand that, I'm just, so that people watching aren't gonna start panicking that, oh my gosh, you know, how I do my signs. I mean, how they do their signs is going to change, but we have a lot of people, a lot of organizations, to Joe's point, who like to put their signs up, and it's good to be able to do that. It's just making sure that it now fits, and we can make sure we still can accommodate as many people as possible.
And I think a key point, though, that has to be made is that these signs are designed to be visible, in the right place, standardized, and safe.
Right,
Because we could argue significantly
Oh,
that the signs on the median
are not safe, right. Okay,
I just want to point out in my printed document, there's a color issue. They're not supposed to be that.
bright orange?
That Halloween
orange.
So I have a question though regarding
That's
those.
not the new Clocker color?
Yeah, it's
So-
more like, well, what was up there? Yeah.
Okay.
So a question on the event stanchions. So
Yeah.
their panels, an organization would purchase a panel, or would they be made in-house? I know a lot of DPWs make signage in-house. How would that,
I
how's
think
that
you could,
normally done?
I think you could go either way depending on what you want. It's probably around a $150 panel, so.
I think we're.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
you're
maybe
gonna have
I'm
more
jumping the gun,
control,
but
you're gonna have more control if
Jumping
you
the
can
gun.
bring it in-house.
Am I?
Right.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, the
I'm gonna
concept
jump
there is
back.
to
Right, this
have
is
a
the beginning
format.
concept, I don't know
Yeah.
that we
Back then,
can,
okay.
yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah.
okay.
But I think you probably run into danger if you let the organizations have
Yeah.
their
Right.
reign with
Right.
it. They'll try to get the
Exactly.
biggest, so.
Okay.
I think part of it would be if we like this approach, to zoom in on some standards.
Right.
Very simple standards.
Exactly.
Okay,
Some minimum type sizes, things like that.
we'll let you keep going now.
That's okay. It's all good. And then this slide shows, I think this might, yeah, this is another proposal about potentially unifying the municipal identification of the town hall, the police station, the library. Perhaps there's a different color for this Stone Park, but a lot of communities are doing this now too, so there's just a consistent recognition that this is, you know, official town function, town park, town space. And this is I'll just sort of zoom through these a little bit. This is a enlargement of our downtown, potentially our downtown entry sign, and we did struggle with this. We had lots of different designs, and you'll notice that we're using the seal as a key piece there, and
Like that.
it did create a lot of controversy, and to be completely honest, it's a challenging graphic to work with. But we did feel that it has permeated and has become
People identify with it.
challenges are good.
Yeah.
So what we've done is, as we advance this, we would probably clean it up a little more to make it a little more legible. Just in terms of being, we can't get it, it's pretty good at that size, but you can imagine on street signs and things like that, we need to probably simplify it. But it would be more monochromatic.
What you have here looks pretty clear.
Look okay? Yeah.
I think that works well.
Street signs now.
Yeah, we have it, we currently have it on our street signs.
Yeah, it's just, I mean.
In
they're-
color, but yeah.
Just from my experience in legibility, it's really, it gets tiny and there's just a lot of details. We'd want to.
They recognize it, it's recognized.
Right, it's recognized.
Yep.
Okay.
And then potentially using the back as a, another spot to introduce the history. This slide is just some zoom in on the detailing of these. We have embraced the mantle a little bit. We've got a nice Ashland gray color, dark gray for the post, but then a little pop of the orange for our creative side of things. And then once again, using the back of the sign as a potential postcard. Then a detail on the, what we could do with the street signs. You can do black with white text, and people felt that was a nice distinctive look, and that's still within the MUTCD and standards, still works.
So I guess I have one question there, and why did you go away from the blue?
To be completely honest, we really wanted to have a different experience in the Main Street area. The blue is town, so
Right.
we're actually trying to,
We're really trying to delineate that
trying to
this is
delineate
downtown.
Okay.
Make it
as
different.
as a memorable place and a separate, not separate, but
So it's not uniform
distinctive.
then. Just Main Street.
Or
would be-
distinct?
Distinct. is a
Okay.
good- Yeah, I think that's a word. Not separate, that's not good.
Okay.
And then the next few slides,
It's standardized for the.
the next few slides, in a very, with some artistic license, show some of the concepts dropped in, not in the crazy color in your document. I'll just say that's a color we use to highlight the sign for the illustration, but those panels still to be worked out. So these are the two locations we're thinking about that we can control and seem like good entry points for this type of information.
Mm-hmm.
And cleaning out the medians. This is an example of where you might have, this is Pleasant Street going on to Main, where you might have a Main Street entry marker. And then hopefully replacing some of the large highway scale signs. And then an example of the vehicular directional and context. This might be to help you make the turn to the library and straight ahead to some of those other key destinations.
Oh, well, yeah. that looks
You can
much
see
better.
we're purposely not going overly ornate with the posts, trying to
Mhm.
keep things a little more
Clean and simple.
clean and simple and timeless. And then I think this is the final slide of how we might redo a typical municipal parking sign with an upgrade. So that's, that concludes the visuals.
Yeah, they did a lot of good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is the next step from here? Maybe either Andrea or Enzo might need to,
Yeah. Yeah, that did conclude the phase. I know that, maybe you want to speak to that a little bit?
well, actually, before we let you go, any questions or comments?
Sure.
Steve?
Yeah, just a question, since we're talking about downtown in particular. You focused obviously on wayfinding signs, but we also have some squares, some recognition spaces there. We've got Green Square, Montenegro Square.
Yeah.
We just recently approved a naming and recognition policy, and so how does that fit in? That seems to be,
Yeah, I think they could certainly fold into this aesthetic and be more coordinated if that was the desire. I did document they're white at the moment. I think they're white wood painted signs.
there's a wood painted sign, and I think a
Yeah.
couple of them are in disrepair.
Yes, they are.
So
Yeah.
they need to be replaced anyway, but
I think that's a good point. It didn't actually come up, I think, because people were focused on more of the wayfinding, but that could certainly be brought into this aesthetic and made part of the program, and probably more durable wood signs.
no doubt, no, but great work. It's,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
By the whole
very
group.
good.
So, okay.
Just-
Thank you very much.
Just one quick addition, if
Oh,
you don't
sure.
mind, Madam
Yeah.
Chair. Kid Spot, very big location in town, and you
At
don't have
Stone
anything
Park.
regarding, it's at Stone Park, but it needs to be recognized that it's there, so that when people go, oh, it's Stone Park, but where's Kid Spot? So it's usually synonymous with one or the other, so you want to entertain adding that to your,
But again, it could be that standardized town sign.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, like the,
right.
Yeah, I think so it's more of a place identifier. you're
Correct.
thinking of,
Yes.
Not
Yes.
necessarily,
yeah, so it'd be like,
Trail of
like the
crumbs.
Stone, you have the Stone Park sign.
yeah.
There should be one that says Kid Spot.
But from a messaging, as long as we get it, we can get them to Stone Park and then they can see.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
We'll just walk away from that.
Good evening, Enzo Scalora.
Enzo.
Just following up on some of the comments. I think the intent was to present this to you as an introduction. Obviously, we're not looking for endorsement today. I think it would take a few weeks to just talk amongst each other with town management to see what you don't like. I think the Downtown Collaborative vetted it pretty good. I think everybody seemed to like the quality of the product that Brian produced. Ultimately, your endorsement, I think, is important to getting this done and then working out how we're going to fund it, either from capital or from other means. There was some preliminary discussions, but I think ultimately it's up to town management and BOS how we end up moving forward funding it. We can do it in 2 phases. We don't recommend it to be 3 or 4. I think 1 is the perfect scenario. 2 is probably, I think, a good thing as well. So it all depends on the funding capabilities of the town. The town-wide events is super critical. Just hearing some of your comments, which were great comments. One option is to do only 1 sign, get a base somewhere that's very economical to do, it's cheap, set it in place and see people's reaction before you go out and roll out 3 or 4 signs. So that might be an opportunity, because that's actually one of the most critical things we were trying to solve, is getting a lot of the clutter out of the medians and in downtown in general. And those town-wide signs that he presented is critical to doing that. So if you have any more feedback, we're flexible in modifying it. Once they're in place, though, they're much more difficult to obviously modify. Each sign probably costs, on average, $3,500 between sign and post. Some are a little bit less, some go as much as $5,000, but they're long-lasting signs. You know, it's unlikely that your plows with snow are going to bend these signs over, and they're movable too.
So that would be my next question, I think, for, the next phase is, what would it cost? You've given us a, okay, here, here's an area we can start with. I think it would be good to get a budget as to what that would mean. If we did everything you're suggesting, it would cost X.
Right.
Okay, if we want to just do the signs for events, what would that be? I think that, for me, would be the next step, is what is the cost?
Right.
And then you're saying you don't see it more than 2 phases. Okay, so what would those 2 phases be that was recommended?
So we actually have a breakdown. We didn't think it was enough time to present that.
Right.
And we also, we budgeted probably, it'll range from $175,000 to $225,000 is our estimate, budgetary estimates for everything.
Oh,
Everything.
okay.
So I think the next phase after you endorse it, though, is really funding a little more Brian's time to work out the details and getting some hard numbers from the market. So we think we could bring it closer to the lower range, but those are just budgets. We went to 1 or 2 subcontractors that do install signs, and they gave us some budget numbers.
Okay.
And we think that's a fair range, from $175,000 to $225,000. That's everything, though.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Enzo, would it be easier to have all the signs done at one time? Sometimes you usually get a cost break on signage instead of breaking it up into 1 or 2 or 3 phases? Yeah,
Right.
to keep the cost down. Okay. Right, right. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Now, Enzo, I'm going to have you come back up. Now, you probably know about this because your family is here.
I tried to find
I
it
was told about
stealthily,
it.
and I couldn't get a hold
well
of
with
it.
surprises.
So we have your wife, Catherine, and your daughters, Anna, Olivia, and Isabella here. For people who may not know, Enzo and his family have decided to move out of Ashland. Ashland's loss is Hopkinton's gain. And we have a proclamation for you before you get to leave. So, this is a Board of Selectmen proclamation. Whereas Enzo Scalora was a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee and subsequently elected to the Ashland Redevelopment Authority, the ARA, by the citizens of Ashland in May 2011, where he acted as chairman since May of 2013. His leadership and achievement are deserving of this special honor and recognition. And whereas Enzo's thoughtful and deliberate planning efforts related to important town redevelopment initiatives, such as the interim report for the Urban Renewal Plan, the Pond Street Project, and Downtown Collaborative, have earned him great respect and admiration from many citizens, stakeholders, and numerous town boards and committees. And whereas Enzo's ability to build consensus and bring thoughts and ideas from diverse groups together has resulted in major forward progress in the areas of redevelopment, planning, and visioning for our community. And whereas the benefit of Enzo's hard work and dedication as an active member of the Citizens Advisory Committee, ARA, and community will be felt for many years, his leadership and mentorship of the ARA will help to ensure its future success and prosperity. And now, therefore, we, the Selectmen of the Town of Ashland, do hereby proclaim Friday, August 8th, 2014 as Enzo Scalora Day. We urge all residents to make known their appreciation for his devotion to the Town of Ashland, and we wish him good health and good fortune.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate this, and I appreciate the heads up from Tony this morning.
You warned him?
Well, I couldn't find his family's phone number. Nobody had it, so I'm like.
Sorry for throwing you under the bus.
Secrecy, family won out, obviously.
I put together a few words. I normally don't do well with recognition, so I wrote some things down. I want to thank you very much for this recognition. As I said to Tony, it's absolutely not necessary, but it's very much appreciated from me and my family. It's been rewarding working with all the various boards, town management, and the ARA over the last several years. I've learned quite a bit from everybody, and I've enjoyed working with some really great people. Our accomplishments as the ARA or as a town were achieved because we work together as a team. I believe that the teamwork should and will continue, and I look forward to seeing the many successes that teamwork has to offer here in Ashland. I want to thank my fellow ARA members, past and present, for working hard to bring about momentum in downtown and Pond Street. I want to thank my family for their support. I usually get home, stuff my face with some food, and go off to a meeting, and my kids are like, "Where's Daddy going now?" Well, now they know where I'm going, so I thank you for that. I want to thank Judith. Actually, she's in the room. Judith is actually the person that helped bring me into the volunteer work. And finally, I want to thank the greater community for allowing me to play a part in the Ashland team. I'm sure I'll continue to see many of the people that I've met, especially at the farmers market. I tend to go there. My wife likes to go there. So I just want to wish everybody the best, and thank you again. Everybody.
Thank you, Enzo. Thank you. Would have been much better had it been a surprise.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Please.
Good picture.
Thank you for coming.
There we go.
I'll send these over to Susan. She can put them on the website, or get them to whomever that puts them on the website. So.
Okay. Oh, not too bad. And next, I would like to invite Andrea Green back up and the ARA for an event that they're planning.
Thank you. What I'm presenting now is a plan for a pop-up multi-arts festival called the Dragonfly Festival. We attempted, with lots of hard work, to plan a very large art and music festival for Ashland, and we had hoped to produce that festival after about a year's work in September. But we realized that we needed to do some more groundwork before being able to produce such a big event. So a smaller group of us decided that we could not go through the summer without having some kind of cool arts event. So that's what our Dragonfly Festival is. It's to take place on August 23rd, which is a Saturday, from 4 p.m. to dark at Mill Pond Park and on the outdoor grounds of the Ashland Historical Society. And those two combined spaces will give us a lot of room to have a lot of people come and attend. We have been working really hard with our chief of police, our chief of fire. We have a public safety plan in place. We have 3 pretty well-known headline musicians that have signed on. We have Perry Desmond Davis, we have Sean Conley, and we have Barbara Kessler. And they have all agreed to sign on without knowing if they will get paid anything at all. So that's the kind of spirit that we're doing this in, that we are getting people to see that we have a lot of passion for the arts in Ashland, and that we really would like to have these kind of events and eventually grow them to be much bigger. And this will, encompass not only the live music, but we will have food vendors from our farmers market who have decided to sign on for this as well. We have theater performances from students from Ashland High School that are getting involved. We have Indian music and dance from some of the performers that were at the Indian Cultural Day have signed on to be part of this. We have children's crafts. We have volunteers that are prepared to do craft projects. We also have a related event earlier at the library that day that will be for all ages, a dragonfly lantern making workshop, and there will be a photography exhibit hung in the same large downstairs conference room in the library at the same time. So tonight I'm seeking the town management and board's approval for this, and we seem to have just some great excitement and momentum building for this, and people just being willing to come forward and try to help make this happen. It is the last weekend before our students have to go back to school, and I think people, want to be able to be outdoors and celebrate. So we do have a rain date set up for August 24th. We'll only use that rain date if we have, really extreme weather that we think will keep people from coming out. But we hope everybody will join us, and we hope to increase our volunteer force that will help make this happen. And we hope to have some dragonfly lanterns and some very nice lighting, natural lighting come on at dusk with the help of our fire department. So I have actually sent the board an email that had the latest updated site plan map. I've gone over that update with the chief of police, and he's got some recommendations. The fire chief has recommendations. He wants to inspect some of the things that we want to use before he makes his final public safety plan. So I'm asking for your support, with the contingency that those plans will be, made to everybody's satisfaction in town. But I'm very excited about this, and I hope that you are.
So the last email that you sent, with the updated plans and stuff, when did you send that one?
I sent that tonight,
okay.
before the meeting. I sent
Okay.
it to Susan, and I sent it to Tony.
Okay.
We were already upstairs.
Yeah, we were already up. Okay.
Right, you were already upstairs. There are also flyers already made. There are designs for logos, lawn signs. Everything is ready.
And once we say go.
Yes, once you say go, we are going to be off and running.
Great.
And we're excited that it will come together, because it seems to be really coming together.
Okay.
Ashland's own firewalk.
There you go.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for Andrea?
Sounds like fun.
Great
Yeah,
idea.
the Kickstarter campaign?
Mhm.
What's the web address for people if they want to go?
We don't have it public yet.
Oh, okay.
I can't do that until after you give us the okay, then I can make that public.
Okay. If I can get a motion to approve the Dragonfly Festival for August 23rd?
So we're approving it in support, and we're also granting access, is that right?
Correct.
So as I read it here, I move that the Board of Selectmen support the Dragonfly Festival to be held on August 23rd, 2014, with a rain date of August 24th, 2014, at the locations along the Sudbury River at Marathon Park and/or Mill Pond Park.
No, actually, it won't be Marathon Park.
Okay.
We could not get parking. There's a wedding at the VFW that day. The
Okay.
Connect
Oh,
Church has
okay.
an activity that day.
In the
So
event something changes, you have that ability. How's that?
Right.
that's great.
We
'cause-
approve, the motion is so that where you have it, as
Perfect.
long as you work with police and fire.
Great.
Okay.
And we have a second from Joe. Okay.
Why couldn't they use Ponderosa Road?
We
If they
thought
work
of
it out, they
that.
can.
Yeah, I'm just.
Right,
yeah.
work
We
out.
thought of that,
If
but,
they use
but
Stone
what we
Park.
saw as public safety issue would be that people would be walking on that curve where
Curve
there's
road or the
no
bridge, yeah.
sidewalk
Yeah.
Yeah.
on either side, and the police chief was
Yeah.
not gonna go for that.
Good idea.
Okay. So, all those in favor of supporting the motion?
Aye.
Aye, great, 5-0. Okay,
Thank you so much.
you are very welcome, good luck.
Now, what's the website? You can make it public, right?
Now, can you tell us the Kickstarter campaign? Oh, you couldn't okay,
I will send it to you as soon as I can. I wish I could make it public.
right, so send it to us as soon as you can.
Okay,
We can get up on the town website and we can publicize it.
great. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
you're welcome, good luck. It's always nice to see these initiatives get started. Okay, moving on. Thank you again, Enzo. Thank
Enzo.
you.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Okay. We have discussion about the Warren Woods encroachment, approval of right-of-way with Jean Crouch.
No, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm here representing the Conservation Commission and the Land Stewardship Committee to talk about the encroachment issue we have at Warren Woods. We've been making some progress. What I'm showing you here is a figure of, hopefully you all have it in your package. It's just a blow up that I colored up a little bit to make it a little bit easier to follow. Just to quickly orient you, this is Prospect Street, this is Elliott Street here, this is the Warren Woods property in the back, and then these are the various property owners that are fronting on the street. This plan was surveyed for us, about a year, 2 years ago, I believe it was, when the property was being purchased. And these encroachments were identified by the surveyor and located on this plan. Since we've purchased the land, we've been trying to get this stuff resolved and get these encroachments resolved, and then work with Audubon to move forward with the conservation restriction, because they won't accept the responsibility to review the property until we get these encroachments resolved. And I might remind you that there's a fair amount of money out there waiting for this to get resolved that we would get once this happens. So what we have is there's about 6 locations that are problems. I've colored this and highlighted the the red color are sites that we've resolved. So we've actually there was a shed and a fence that was on the property. The landowner is selling this property. I wanted to get all these issues resolved. So he has moved the shed already, and it was our understanding that Reliable Fence, he was going to have them come in and move the fence and relocate it so it would be off the property. So this is resolved. This is a shed that is in the backyard of that property. It's off their property. It's on ours, of course. They don't want the shed. They have said right from the beginning, you can come in and take it, we don't want it. I believe as of last week, we have a right of entry to come in and grab that, take that fence, take it down, do whatever we need to do to get it out of there. So they don't want to take it down, but they have given us permission to come in to do that. The property has also been sold or is about to be sold, or it's under agreement. So time is of the essence for us to get in there. We do have, as I say, the right of entry now that's been signed, and I don't know if you've countersigned it.
Well, the board has to approve the right of
Okay.
entry, and then we can.
Part of our discussion tonight is to
Okay.
approve the right of entry.
So that, once that happens, that'll get resolved. But I want to come back to that for a second. The next one is that there was a small shed that was not even just on our property, it was on his neighbor's property too, and that's since been moved onto his property. So this shed is now moved over to here, so that's resolved, it's out of the way. The other red area the lines that I've highlighted was an area that was being managed by the neighbor, and there was some materials on the lawn. That's all been removed, and the area is not being managed anymore, so as far as we're concerned, that's resolved as well.
So that cannon's now on his property?
I believe it is, yes.
So I have a question in relationship to that, because you're saying that it's resolved. Are we putting something in place to show the property line so that the homeowner, wherever it is, knows that they can't go past that?
Right, we did bound the property. So there are granite bounds out there in various locations. There are a couple places we did not bound. There was one supposed to go in the middle here. We were told not to do that, so we didn't. Or we didn't have the surveyors put that one in.
Told not to do it by the town or by the property?
But I think Lisa told us not to do that one, because it was a very adversarial situation at the time. And
Okay.
may still be, we can't find this person to talk to them. And I'll go through that. So the orange ones or the red ones are the ones that we've resolved or are in the process of resolving amicably. The blue ones are less so. This property, there's fairly egregious encroachment. He was storing a lot of materials out there, a construction trailer, a boat on a trailer. There's a shed out there. There's a lot of other materials, loose materials, stacked up materials. It's kind of a mess. We have been trying to get in touch with this person, called him a number of times, have left messages, have gotten no callbacks. Clearly is using his phone seems to be using his phone as some of a screening device and doesn't seem to want to talk to us. We've sent
letters and things like that.
We've sent
right?
letters. At least 3 letters have gone to all of these landowners.
Okay.
And the last letter said, June 30th is the deadline. We're going to start taking stuff if you don't get it off there by June 30th.
Were they registered with signed receipts, so we know he
I
did receive it?
believe they were. I can't say that they were all picked up.
Still serves them.
And
Serves, they don't pick up.
and I honestly, I don't know I should know that. I should have figured that out. Do you happen to know?
I believe that they were sent in regular mail as well.
Yeah, in both ways.
And I know that at least the landowner you're speaking to came to one of our meetings, so he is
Right.
on notice that.
Okay.
Yeah, we, early on, we had a meeting, invited all these landowners to talk about it, and he was in attendance of that.
I believe it's still considered service, even if they choose not to pick it up.
Right.
It's typically the legal
Okay,
stuff.
good.
And I know when we had a discussion a couple of years
Right.
ago around procedural pieces with council,
Yeah.
that was the recommendation, so I can't see why we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I mean, this, short of serving them like it's a
Constable.
summons, I don't know how else we could do it,
It's
but.
still considered service.
And the piece next to it is all set.
This
That
is, it was merely a mowing, and it's our understanding that they've stopped mowing that area, so it's basically, there was nothing out there. There was a shed, but it was off the property, it was actually on their property. So, it's, they know not to mow it anymore. And then this property it's mowed, or it was being mowed. It's fenced in with a chain link fence, a fairly low chain link fence. There's a pool on the property that clearly hasn't been used in a very long time. It's green and it's got stuff growing on it. The problem is, the pool is here. The pool shed with the filter and whatnot is on the town property. And then there's another shed a little further back that's also on town property that's apparently in very bad condition. There's plumbing and electrical going to this shed that's on the town's property. So that's a little bit problematic. Plus, this is as I say, a chain link fence around the back that will, I think we need to relocate that or eliminate it. There is a pool, as I say, so I don't think we can just eliminate it. I think we have to replace something along the property line or do something to fence in the yard. If we took it away, I would be concerned about a liability that we created. The other problem with that property is it was a house that I think 6 or 8 months ago had a pipe break and it flooded. The woman who was living there had the property determined to be uninhabitable and is not now living there. We have no idea where she is, and we don't know what's happening with the property. This person also, when we said we were back, I don't know, maybe 2 letters ago, said we needed to, you need to get your material off the town land, and said, well, it's an adverse taking. I own the property now. Had a lawyer send a letter in, which we responded to, Lisa responded to, and we heard nothing else from them. So we mentioned about maybe seeing if the lawyer can find this person to talk to her, to tell her that we've got to get in there and make some, changes.
So just on the adverse possession element, it's my understanding, because I've asked that question, it's not applicable to municipal-owned land, so they can claim adverse possession, but there's no law or mechanism that would allow them to cane that in a court of law, so.
And I think that's what our letter
So
back
that's,
was.
so they can, I just want to let everybody else know, because you're saying that they're claiming that, well, they don't have a right to claim it, because it would never be granted in a court of law under a municipal-owned piece of property, so.
I believe in addition, I think they had to make that claim before they received a letter saying, you're on my property, get off, basically.
Right.
And that happened. There was no claims made on any of these properties, so. So that's somewhat problematic, because we don't know where the person is to get in touch with her. She's not living there. The mailbox apparently has fallen down and hasn't been replaced. So we're hoping the attorney can figure out where she is and help us get in touch with her.
Excuse me,
Sure.
has the tax bill been paid, so you checked where the bill's been
I
sent?
believe they're current. I
They're up
haven't
to
checked,
date?
but that's not one of the ones we've been talking about in
I mean,
our.
the property's held in trust, if you look at the paperwork, so just because she's living there, the trustee would have to grant the access piece or whatever, even though she's living there. I don't know that she's the benefactor of the trust, but typically if it's in a trust, and it is held in trust according to this document here, so.
Got it.
The last one is basically, it shows a fairly large area, but it's really just a couple of strings of fences that are in there. There's the outer sort of irregular shaped line is like a box wire fence. It's a low fence that's just in the woods, and then the other line coming at an angle to the actual property line is a stockade fence. It's not in good shape. It's kind of leaning and basically falling over, and our thinking is that we can get around the end for access, pull it out and carry it out. It's kind of thick in there, so there might be some weed whacking to actually make access in there. I've walked through there. It's quite thick, but I think with a little bit of effort, I think we can get all that stuff out of there without too much trouble. We've never had any reaction from that landowner to anything. I don't believe they came to our meeting, and we've never heard anything from them. But since there's really nothing that we need them to move, we can just take that fence out of there as far as we're concerned.
So for that piece of property, you can just come in from the town-owned property
Right.
side and remove what you need to remove?
Right.
Okay.
We can do that here as well, actually. There is a trail that comes in through the back of this, and we believe we can get like a pickup truck or a small piece of equipment, a Bobcat or something like that, into there, down the trails, to clean up that material and take it back out through the town land without having to go through his property to do it.
But what about the boat and what the
Well,
other
the
stuff
boat
that's short?
actually isn't here now. There's an empty trailer, boat trailer stored in the back. I'm assuming it's in the water for the summer.
Okay.
There is a covered construction type trailer in there that's sort of covered in vegetation now. But assuming the wheels work, you could just hook it up to something and tow it out. And if not, well, we'll figure a way to move it out of there. When I looked at it, I didn't look at it too carefully, but it looked like it had value. I can't imagine that it's apparently a contractor, so I can't imagine that he wouldn't want it. But maybe not, you never know. So these two are the real sort of issues for us. One, because I think this guy's going to be very adversarial about it. I mean, we haven't had a lot of contact with him, mainly because he isn't responding. But I can imagine that he's going to be very resistant to us taking his stuff. This one, the problem is access. Getting in there, if we had permission to get in there through the property, that'd be great. I don't expect that to happen. What we were hoping to do is, while we had access through here, we have direct access to this property. The problem is that I think the right of entry doesn't really stipulate that we would be accessing someone else's property through his property or their property. So
Does this state we're accessing our property?
No, no, it doesn't. It's for a
Okay.
specific purpose. But the other issue really surrounding that property that's not really conducive to moving right now is the fact that you gotta take down a fence that helps to secure a pool.
Right.
We'd have to replace it, which means we have to replace the fence on her property, which means now the town has to go on somebody else's property and do work, which is, we gotta come up with another solution. We need some legal advice and so forth to figure out how to address that one, especially since the person's not living there, we don't know where they are, but not a good idea to go and take that down and leave it unsecured, or actually go on, now you're trespassing if you don't have permission. We're actually be working and digging holes on somebody else's property, so.
Can we put it on the line?
I think that's still considered,
I was
yeah.
just curious. Okay, so if it's still considered amenable.
And it may be that in the future, whoever buys that property, they may again allow us a right of entry, but this one is for a particular purpose to address just the one shed.
So to your point, that if they go to sell that piece of property, is there something on our records in town that shows
It wouldn't show clear title, so. it wouldn't
that there's
matter.
a violation.
there's a violation and that there's no clear title for them because of it? And
Well-
if not, can we do something so that?
Some kind of a lien or something.
plot plan
That's
would
kind
show
of what I was
encroachment.
thinking. That's what I was thinking, if the town couldn't put a lien on the property somehow. The problem is, everything's on our property, so technically, it's ours. So we really have the right to go in there and take it
And
if we
remove it.
want,
The
because
issue
it's
is the
ours.
pool.
It's the issue's the pool.
And, we don't want to leave that unsecured.
Couldn't we, I mean, I know when you put a pool in, you don't have a permanent fence right away. You put up that orange fencing until it's time. Couldn't we remove the fence, put up temporary
temporary.
fencing right on the line, and then give them so many days to put something in?
I don't know.
I think
Can't
these are
even talk-
questions we
you
need
can't
to
even talk
ask.
them,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
So what's the question here tonight?
Well,
Well, we need to approve the,
Understand
It's just
that.
about 171
release.
So it's just one. So you're just informing us of the other elements.
well, basically, what I think we need to do for this property is say, okay, you've had fair warning, we're in 2 days, 48-hour notice, whatever, we're coming in to get that material.
Okay.
And, give him that one last fair warning to move it. And if it's not moved by Saturday morning, it's gone. We're taking it away, and we think we need police escort to do that.
And is that a vote of Conservation Commission and the Board of Selectmen? Since Conservation's control of land?
Well, they control the land, correct.
When we were sort of musing about doing this, we were told that we can't, that the Board of Selectmen are the ones to take action, not us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So are you prepared to move on that?
We are, actually. A while ago, you allocated about $7,000 for testing of these sheds for lead and asbestos and whatnot. We actually ended up doing a lot of the sampling ourselves. One of the members of the commission at the time worked in that profession, so he knew how to sample and take it to the lab and so forth. So we actually sampled the sheds for a lot less than $7,000. So we still have about $6,000 left. What we'd like to do is if you would reallocate that money to allow us to use that for removal. We do have a contractor available who would be able to work and do this. We've already talked to, and we would use that money to pay him to remove these materials from these properties and get this thing resolved, or at least most of them resolved.
If I just mentioned, Gene, after our meeting, I went back, January 8th of this year was when we approved that. What I showed from the minutes anyways was $5,100 assigned to assess the sheds. So we'll need to chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was 7.
Well, I went back and looked, and what I found
Okay.
was $5,100.
What was the date?
I have January 8th, 2014.
Any idea how much it's going to be?
How much it's gonna be?
Yeah.
We would have to get estimates.
Okay.
You got the
It shouldn't
5,000
be that
barriers there,
expensive.
right?
There's quite a bit left, yeah.
Put the
didn't-
5,000 barriers there from a procurement perspective, isn't there?
They don't have
Yeah.
that, there's only 4,000 left.
Oh, is
It's
that
gone
10?
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe we could, if I could suggest this, if you could,
We can allocate more money, I mean, what's the difference?
well, that's what I was going to say, if you could give us permission to use what we have, we'll do what we can with that, and then if we need more, we'll come back with
Well,
estimates. and
I
whatnot.
would think that, we're not meeting again until September 3rd. It sounds like you're ready to start doing some of this. So I would rather say, let's,
Allocate the money.
allocate now, reallocate
Up
up to
to,
10,
that's
up to a certain amount.
Okay.
And if you need to go over that, then you'd have to come back in September.
Sure.
But now seems like the time that you want to be doing it and getting it done.
Right.
As you said, there is other money on the line for us coming in regards to,
Right.
getting the CR in place.
Yeah, time's important because it does start to get wet in some of those areas.
That's another point, is access
already
into
wet, but-
here is,
Depending
can be very wet and mushy, and right now it's pretty dry, so
Okay.
now's the time to get in and out of there.
Okay, so you need us to approve the hold harmless,
Yep.
correct? And then approve money to remove the material. So when would you be looking to do that material?
Probably, well, I mean, like I say, we want to give them another maybe 48-hour notice, just,
Okay.
just to be, right up
Right.
front with them.
This
Okay.
is the Conservation Commission doing this work, or the Land Stewardship Committee?
We have a contractor that we've,
I understand,
No,
but
but is it
who's,
under the Conservation Commission or under Land Stewardship?
you stand here as a conservation member, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's,
Because you guys.
Well, the Land Stewardship Committee actually reports to the commission, so
yeah, it's
I think it
So
would
we
be
grant
commission
that, we
overall.
grant
Grant
the
it to
permission to do the
conservation.
work to the conservation.
yeah.
Yeah, we just need to work with them on the contracting
Yep.
piece, so
Right.
whenever we're
Okay.
ready
It's
to do
procurement
that. And
laws.
the motion
Right.
is to approve myself to actually sign the right of entry.
Okay. Okay, anyone want to?
So I move that we authorize the hold harmless agreement as presented and authorize town manager to sign.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
And
And
what do we need, a motion for?
motion for the
Okay.
funds.
Motion to authorize the amount of money up to $10,000 to come from the Warren Woods Mitigation Fund
Right.
to support the mitigation of encroachments at a specific address, which is,
91 Prospect
This is
Street.
191?
It says it on the map, it says
Yeah.
191.
at 191 Prospect Street.
Why don't you just
171
support
's
all encroachments,
Yeah,
because. that way-
171
Is that
is
what there's
the,
any extras and they need to
we
do
already
it?
voted that.
We'd also be
Now we're voting the money to
using
remove
it
it.
to pull those
Okay,
fences out of there in
So
the
to
back.
go to Paul's point then, to allocate funding for any encroachments that may be.
Yeah, that would be probably better.
required.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'll second
Great.
that.
Okay.
Now, is that including the 5,100 that we
Yes.
allocated already?
Up to, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
up to,
so
so
it's
it's
up
a
to-
total
yeah.
of 10,000.
It's not an additional.
Right, okay.
It's up
Just-
to-
It's 5,100 up to the 10,000.
I'm
Okay.
sure we could
So
do it
it's
for less.
additional
Does that sound good?
4,900
That sounds
we're adding
great.
to that.
Yeah, so an additional 4,900.
Now, this is gonna require a signature of the Conservation Commission as well.
Yep.
So, and then we'll need to get with Susan to get a copy of the vote.
Yeah, we meet next week, so we can, next
Okay.
Monday. Yep,
And we'll just need to get a copy back.
okay.
Okay.
We got a motion, a second. We have to vote
We
on
need
it.
to talk before the
But the
contract.
money-
Oh, I thought we had a second.
The
I'm
money.
sorry.
Yeah, I did, I seconded, but we
Yeah,
need
Paul
to-
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that passes. So you now have up to a 10,000 from the
Great.
50, so an additional
Super.
4,900.
Thank you very
So-
much.
So one question before you leave. What do you anticipate the path for that last piece?
This one here?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we would,
I think it's talking to
we
you.
can talk to the landowner and see what their feeling might be about coming through there, through their property, but I think the issue of reassembling or replacing that fence is something that,
Yeah, so, I mean, I think
Quite
really the
sure.
crux is gonna be getting a legal opinion about what can we do and what we can't do. I mean, obviously, if the person was living there, you may have the ability to take the fence down, give them an order that, you know, this fence needs to be replaced, but they're not there.
Right.
So I think there's, and again, we can check with council, but there's probably risk with us actually going onto somebody else's property to be able to install the fence up right on the property line to secure the pool, so.
So we couldn't use the existing fence that's there, because it's a chain link fence, and
You
just,
could, but you have to
Realign it.
actually go onto somebody's property to put it back. I think
They
that's.
need it off our property.
Without their
it's
permission.
not a great fence. I mean, the gates on it, like, you just kick them and they open up. It's old, it's pretty rusty, and it's kind of fallen down in most places, but
So we'll come up with a plan. We just
Okay.
gotta
Okay.
talk through the different courses of action that,
would that still hold up the conservation? Mr.
It-
until
we-
that-
we've spoken-
That one is,
yeah, we've spoken with Audubon, and they said that they won't sign unless everything is resolved. Now, if we can get all these other things resolved and we just have that one, we'll talk to him and see, maybe he can,
okay.
we've
You
made
know.
substantial progress, I
Right,
think,
yeah.
since the
yeah.
last time.
I mean,
we
it's
talked.
clear we're not just sitting there doing nothing. We're trying to get this resolved. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you,
Good.
Jim.
Thanks, Steve.
good,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much.
Okay. Moving on, Warren Woods Ad Hoc Committee update. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have before us is a proposal for the next step related to the proposed master plan for the front 16 acres that was presented to us on June the 18th. And as you recall, this was a committee made up of land stewardship folks, Conservation Restriction Working Group. We had two of our select people on the board, and I believe there's also a Board of Health member as well. And the primary recommendations from that committee were essentially extending the current stewardship plan to the 16 acres through a transfer to the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, bring the CR process for those 16 acres to closure, evaluate the potential relocation of the Valentine barn and subsequent management of it, and then evaluate the potential for community gardening and/or a community-supported agricultural event. So this is a proposal for an ad hoc committee to do just that, to evaluate and to recommend to the Board of Selectmen. And as listed on the proposal, there's essentially 5 components, and I've put a timeline on it, basically because if there was a appetite, a desire to move the barn and to reconstruct it, it may require a town warrant article for CPA funds, so hence the May 2015 date. I've also listed some potential memberships. I will tell you that I've talked to a few people that kind of straddle a couple of different areas, that have construction experience, that have experience in some of these areas such as community preservation, stewardship, and so on. So very simply, a proposal for next step, and I would ask that we, at this point, vote to establish this.
Okay, questions, thoughts, comments? Okay,
Sounds good. Sooner the better.
so if we establish this, we then put out talent bank forms to
Put out
participate.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, and we'd advertise it, I'd ask staff to advertise it, and I would suggest that we as well speak to people that we know. And again, there's a lot of expertise out there for people that have, in fact, I'll point to our town manager that has construction experience, would be an ideal candidate as a resident to participate on this.
okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
I guess, not to be negative, I mean, this is a subcommittee of a subcommittee. I mean, how many times are we gonna set up committees to look at this thing? You know, we've had a proposal. Part of me feels the board should just vote whatever direction it goes in, it gets done. You know, we set up a committee, and then we set up a subcommittee of another subcommittee, and we just keep, this goes on and on and on, and it's been now going on for 3 years. And, you know, part of me wonders, you know, why doesn't this vote just be taken? Whatever that happens, it's done, and we move on. So I understand there are some new elements around the barn. Well, you know, the ZBA process relating to the location of that barn has just started. There's a long way to go on that one, so, but just my personal thoughts, so.
So, well, I think this committee, because the one before was very big. I mean, you know, there was, I think, 10 or 11 people on it. It was very difficult to set up meetings and to get information and to have discussion. So I think this is gonna be a much smaller committee. And some of the work has already been done in regards to a potential plan. So I think this is then just finalizing that plan.
Yeah. And I would suggest also that, you know, there's more nuts and bolts here in terms of evaluating the potential for moving the barn, you know, the cost of it, you know, how it would be positioned, how it would be, you know, what elements included in the reconstruction. So I think there's that is probably a big part of this committee. As well as, you know, the fact is that the ZBA process for that Valentine parcel has started now. You know, granted, there's no shovel in the ground, and it may be quite some time, but the fact is that barn may be available at a sooner point in time. We should be prepared to either move
If the
forward.
appetite is there to do it.
If the appetite is there. We have to test that appetite, so.
I'm always hungry.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to create this ad hoc committee?
That will report directly to the select.
Yes, they will report directly to the Board of Selectmen. And, you know, there'll be, it looks like Steve is recommending that one of us be on that committee. So we can have some control and encourage timeliness of work, and, you know, we can give them a timeline as to when we want a follow-up to that initial proposal that we saw a month ago, a more solid proposal saying, okay, timing, what we think, and costs. Okay? No one?
So
I'm trying to figure out how that will wait.
I will, I move that the Board of Selectmen create the Warren Woods Master Plan Ad Hoc Committee to take on the mission and guidance as directed on this sheet right here.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 4-1. Okay,
Thank you.
yep. Moving on, we have before us information on an Eagle Scout project. Unfortunately, Benjamin Barrett, who proposed this, was not able to come before us tonight. This came to me through Diane Roberts in our garden club. The Boy Scout Benjamin had approached her, and they are looking to clean up, and we've talked about this area before, the corner right there on 135 and the corner pub. It is our property, we do own it. We're supposed to be maintaining that sign. So he's looking for our approval to go ahead and do the project on our property.
Is that something that if we give Benjamin the okay to do his project, something he needs to sit down with the folks that just did their presentation regarding signage and other things we're going to keep the uniformity of the signs to coincide with what we're doing on Main Street? Is that something we need to
I think his
ask
plan
him?
right now is to replace what is there.
Right.
So if we don't want him to replace what is there but do something else, then yes, we would need him to coordinate. But I mean, he's not putting any he's replacing what's there.
The other side, he's probably got about a year left before he has to complete his Eagle elements.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that other process might not be longer than that. And as I read this, he's repainting, he's refreshing everything.
Right.
I think it's a great idea, just,
Yep.
if we're
No,
gonna use the
logical.
uniformity aspect of it, I wanted to make sure that he was, working together with everybody.
Right.
That's fine.
The only other thing was, is this then the corner that we were gonna name
McGill.
McGill?
Right.
So do we then need to reach out to the family and say if they have a plaque that they would like added there?
Well,
Right, because
we
isn't that
can.
how we talked about it, that we wouldn't create the plaque if the family would like to donate?
Well, I don't know if we really came to that decision yet, but
If you,
let
in
me.
the policy, it states that we would look
We
to
would look to
the
that.
people.
But we also talked about the way other communities do recognitions, and I point to Natick, who has a number of squares that use basically street signs, poles and
Mhm.
street
Right.
signs to recognize, and so
Okay.
it's as simple as that. So we really didn't.
If we were to use
Well, then that's the next question, if we're looking at, if
That
we're,
would be something
you
that
know.
we'd be looking at in that similar design.
But
I
is
would say.
that area considered part of the downtown that would want those, that's,
I would suggest that at this point, we owe the family the recognition. We approved that, and I think we should complete that process, in my opinion. And I think we should, whatever signage we do today, we should do so, and not necessarily wait for the next 10 years.
and that's why I brought it up, because we have this project before us, and we had said we wanted to
Yeah.
give some recognition to the family. Okay, so then,
But I think as you read Ben's presentation, he's looking to clean the area up.
Yeah.
Refresh the signage, improve the plantings. I don't think he's really talking about adding additional signage, and that's typically what these projects are. Take an area that's a little run down and improve it through his leadership, his
Right.
coordination, and his coordination with volunteerism. So I'm not sure he's speaking to the McGill thing. I think is,
no,
I
and,
don't
no,
disagree.
he's not speaking to the McGill
But I
thing,
think we
but
should coordinate
because,
with this.
but because this is an area that we had determined that we wanted to do something for McGill, and it might not be asking Ben to do it, but it's maybe having Ben do what he's going to do if we're gonna approve that. And we then, in the same time, think about what we want to do for the McGill recognition.
I think they're just two separate subject matters.
Okay, that's fine. I just,
agree you're talking about the same location, but I think what's before us here is to authorize Ben to do his work at that location. Then, if there's a separate discussion about how we're gonna finish the McGill thing, I think that's appropriate, but.
I think it's valid, question that you asked earlier about reaching out to the family and see if they had any particular interest or ability to provide a plaque or
they may
whatever
have
they wanted.
something up-
They
right.
may have something,
okay.
right.
So, let's go back then to this project. Do I hear a motion to approve Benjamin's project and give town management the authorization to reach out and coordinate it being done?
I move that we grant access for Ben Barrett to this location as presented and request coordination with the town and the DPW in relationship to the work.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Reach out to Ben and
Yes.
let him know that it's been approved. Okay. Okay. I'm going to, if it's okay with the board, I would like to move to town manager appointments,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to selectmen reappointments. Only because I see a lot of faces and that way they can go.
So, Chief,
Big guns.
It's intimidating.
yeah.
No, it's just that I respect their time and
Eddie looks tired anyway.
He was on the street. Chief, if you could bring
Just came back
Mr.
from the
Keefe up.
He walked here.
No, just Mr. Keefe right now. The first appointment I have tonight is to appoint Mr. Alexander Keefe to the Ashland Police Department as a regular officer. We'll ask him in a minute to cover a little bit of his background. You have his resume in your folder. I'll also be asking to waive the 15-day waiting period as we're ready to get him started in his abbreviated field training program that the chief has established. So, Chief, if maybe you want to say a few words and then let Alex tell us, the board, a little bit about himself and answer any questions they may have.
Sure, glad to. Good evening. I want to introduce to you Alex Keefe, our newest, hopefully, appointment as police officer for the town of Ashland. Although Alex grew up in Framingham, you'll see on his resume that he's been an on-call firefighter here for the past several years in Ashland. I'll let him describe the rest of his resume, so he'll have something to talk about. But we put Alex through a series of interviews, and we're very impressed by him, his qualifications, and just he as a person. So we're very excited to have him come on board as a lateral transfer from the town of Framingham Police Department, and we welcome.
Great.
Okay.
Over to you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and.
Okay, I am a graduate of Westfield State University. I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a concentration in public administration. While I was there, I had the opportunity to go through the Fire Explorer program under the direction of Bob Gemma. That's how I got involved in the town. After completing 4 years on the Explorer post and 8 years with the Boy Scouts of America and attaining Eagle Scout, Chief Key offered me the position on the call department, which I did while I was at school and when I was home on vacations and such. That gave me the experience to start in public safety. At 18, you can't become a police officer, so it gave me a chance to go for a couple of years, gain experience, learn the town, respond to emergency calls. On top of going to Westfield State, I went back again in 2012 to start my master's program in public administration, which I hope to graduate in June of 2015, as long as all goes well with that. Outside of schooling, I am a active volunteer in the Pan Mass Challenge that just occurred this past weekend, big bike ride for cancer. We're looking to raise $40 million this year, so I was a proud volunteer down at the finish line. Outside of that, I like to stay active within the town of Ashland. I've been active. Haven't missed an Ashland day in 8 years. I can say that proudly. I help out with the MDA boot drive through the fire department, and I try to attend as many things as I can that go on in the town. I graduated from the Worcester Police Academy in April of this year. There they taught us various classes on criminal justice, mass law, constitutional law, as well as how to deal with domestics that you may encounter, other problems that you may deal with as a police officer, firearms training, emergency vehicle operations. So that's where I got my background and then started in the town of Framingham, where I learned very quickly what entails a police officer and what they go through on a daily basis. Opportunity presented itself to come to Ashland, and I put in and went through the process with Chief Davis and his staff, and hopefully looking forward to working with the men and women of the Ashland Police Department, with your blessing.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do I get a?
So you're not asking to waive the 15?
I am asking.
He is asking to waive the
Sorry,
15.
I missed that.
Yeah.
So I move that we approve the town manager's appointment of Alexander Keefe to the Ashland Police Department and waive the 15-day waiting period.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Okay. Nice.
The next appointment, if we could have Peter Cunningham please come forward. You probably recognize Peter. He was here not.
Uh-oh.
As long as we're not appointing firemen, they're all going to run out of the room. You probably recognize Peter. He was appointed as an auxiliary not too long ago. Before I announce his appointment, just want to make it clear that I did file with the chair a 268, a disclosure for under conflict of interest, Peter happens to be the son of my cousin by marriage. I did file a similar 268A, and at the time I appointed him as an auxiliary, so I was not involved in the selection process at all. But pleased to appoint Peter Cunningham to a full-time dispatcher position. We currently have two vacancies there, and he is going to fill one of those vacancies. We'll let him say a few words here in a minute. I'm also asking that the 15-day waiting period for this position to be waived, as he is currently attending the emergency medical dispatch, EMD, training, 911 training, currently on his own, and we want to get him on the roll. So he's a known quantity and ready to hit the ground running. So Peter, maybe you can say a few words about how you like the auxiliaries and this new position that is before you.
I'm very excited. I'd like to say first, thank you to the Board of Selectmen, as well as Town Manager and Chief Davis, for giving me this opportunity to further my my time here at Ashland Police Department. The time I've spent with Ashland Police with the auxiliary department there has been excellent. Great opportunity for me. And other than that, I'm looking forward to this opportunity. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Any questions, concerns? No? Okay.
He's still going to be an active member of the auxiliary too, as well, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Just have to make sure, Leo.
Okay, if I can get a motion?
I move that we approve the town manager's appointment of Peter Cunningham as a full-time dispatcher in the Ashland Police Department and waive the 15-day waiting period.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, Officer Sergeant Doucette, if you could please come forward. You're writing a lot of appointment letters tomorrow, I think. The next appointment is for Leo Doucette to become a part-time crossing guard, fulfilling the vacancy through the retirement of Paula Duval. I think we all know Leo, so Leo, just maybe say a couple words, just a couple.
There might be people who don't know Leo.
There may be people
that
that
are
don't know you,
watching.
so let them know.
You never know.
I'm Captain Eve Circle, thank you. I've been with the auxiliary for 6+ years now, and thank you, Chief Davis and the board. And hopefully I can measure up to what Donna needs me to do out there.
Big shoes to
Right, and great, given the timing of school, there's no requirement to waive the 15 days, no training, any of that kind of stuff going on?
No, he'll undergo a brief training program, but
Okay.
there's no need to waive that.
All right, great.
We still have time.
All right.
Congratulations, Leo.
Congratulations.
If I can, hold on.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
We have to,
We just have to, we have to
no,
approve.
oh, it's no vote? We don't have to
No,
approve it?
the appointment.
No, you don't, no, just if somebody do the waiver of the 15-day waiting period. So in that 15 days, if somebody has an
I
issue.
always thought we moved to approve it, doesn't matter.
Nope.
Oh.
Okay, the next appointments or for the Ashland Auxiliary, those are yearly appointments. So I'll just announce those. I'll be reappointing Sergeants Leo Doucette and James Schmidt, and Officers Joe McDonald, Ryan Porter, Al Thomas, Charles Grace, Craig Foodie, and Peter Cunningham for another one-year assignment to the Ashland Auxiliaries that will expire on August 31st, 2015.
Okay. And again, no vote by us, you just.
No.
Those are his appointments.
Okay, those are your appointments.
Very good.
Great.
Good.
Okay,
Congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations.
very much. Congratulations.
Madam Chair, does it make sense to do the?
Yeah, let's go into old new business, anything that's related. So, we can hold off on the reappointments. Okay, so declaration of surplus property, an Ashland Police Department vehicle.
So in your packet, we currently have a couple of new vehicles coming into the fleet. One that we are asking to declare surplus is a 2007 Ford sedan. which will be replaced. Typically, when we declare them surplus, we send them over to Odessa and get a couple $100, not a lot of money. This surplus is actually tied to the gift acceptance, which comes after this. I had approached the chief a while back about seeing if we could find ourselves actually go out and purchase a speed sign that you see parked on the side of the road as sort of a warning device to let folks know if they're exceeding the speed limit. And the chief, being the frugal person he is, he goes, I know just the person to call and talk to the, and it's great, and talk to the chief. He said, well, the chief of Bolton, he said, well, do you guys have a car? And we said, well, matter of fact, we do. So the plan here is to declare this 2007 vehicle a surplus. We will then offer it to the Bolton, exchange it to the Bolton Police Department in return for acceptance of the speed sign, which is in really good condition. Looks almost brand new. Obviously, we'll change the nomenclature on the side of the piece of equipment, but a really good deal for the Ashland and the citizens. Several folks have called me about some speeding in certain roads in town, and had asked about this, which got me on the hunt to find one. And the chief came through very quickly, and now we're ready to actually secure the deal and have our own speed sign for the Ashland Police Department.
Okay, so it's two-step. First, we have to approve the declaration of surplus property. If I can get a motion?
So I move that we declare the 2007 Ford sedan white vehicle identification number 1 FAH P24127 G164273 as surplus.
If I can get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then a motion to accept the electronic speed sign.
Move that we accept the electronic speed sign from the Bolton Police Department with thanks.
Get a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Great.
Thank you for your frugalness.
Yes, thank you for finding that.
So since we're accepting gifts, I feel like we're becoming Dell computers. We received another donation of which will turn out to be in your packet. The fourth one down, if you can cross that off when we get ready to make the motion, and the second to last one, if you could cross that off. So there'll be acceptance of 7 Dell desktops and 6 Acer laptops, which will be supporting, now that we've sort of almost rounding out what the police needs, we'll be sending additional computers to the library, to the community center, and to the fire department to replace some of our older computers. And just like the previous ones that we received, Officer Berman is keeping a separate tracking log by serial number and location for accountability purposes for this equipment. And obviously a great thing being able to get new technology out to our department, particularly our library, as we try to replace some of the older computers. And eventually we're looking to get to the ones where the customers actually use to upgrade those. Some of them, I think, still have.
And where did this donation come from? Can we say, or?
No.
Okay. Well, whoever donated this, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
That will be investigated.
The donor asked to remain.
If the donor asked to say,
Anonymous.
remain anonymous, then that's fine.
Did not fall off the back of a truck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's much better to say that the donor was anonymous than we don't wanna know, so, okay,
The donor chose to be anonymous.
okay. Great.
So, good to go. Thanks, Chief.
Oh, actually, we still need to accept them. If I can get a motion to accept them.
So I'm gonna do the list. So I move that we accept 7 desktop computers with the exception of line item 4 and 8 as presented, and 6 laptop computers.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much.
And the anonymous donor, thank you.
Yes, thank you to the anonymous donor. Okay, next, the auxiliary police department budget. So this ties back to the original grant request we received back in the spring. With our spring timeline of $3,500, we now have a more full budget and I believe a higher request of funds. Okay. And go.
Sergeant Schmidt?
Good evening, Auxiliary Sergeant James Schmidt. I believe you received a letter of request earlier today. Not sure if you had an opportunity to read it. As you know, we're an auxiliary department made of 8 volunteers. Let me ask you, should I just read the letter to you, or have you
Yeah,
already
'cause
read
I'm
it?
not.
So it came in today's package on the table.
Oh, this one,
Denise
okay.
Stewart-Iden's
Thank you.
letter.
Okay, we got it, we're good. But maybe summarize what you're asking for so that the public knows what you're looking for.
All right. Well, we're self-funded, and we do accept donations whenever somebody's willing to give one. But we are pretty much self-funded, so everything that we wear, the training that we receive is pretty much paid for by ourselves. And we did put together a budget this year, and pretty much defines what our costs are, and it's roughly around $28,000. And when you think about it, it's 8 officers, we're all volunteers. It's an awful lot of money for an individual to pay out, seeing that we do volunteer our services to the town. We're also volunteering our wallet to go with it. So what we're looking for is a couple, it's broken down into line items. $800 for recertifications for 8 officers. Every, roughly, it's 2 years that we need to recertify our CPR and first responder training. And that's required for us to have to basically be on the job as auxiliaries. The next line item is $560, and it's an annual in-service training that we do, and Framingham Auxiliary Police hosts it every year, and it's 6 classes during the wintertime, and we do have these classes with also Natick and Wayland and Framingham and ourselves. And again, that's something that keeps us up to date with both classroom and defensive tactics, which is a hands-on experience. Next line item is $100 for our annual membership for Mass VLEOA. That's a Volunteer Law Enforcement Officers Association. That membership allows us to train with other departments, share resources, and probably most importantly, it allows us to get mutual aid that we've used at our half marathon that we have both in the fall and the spring. And it's brought in over, I was going to say, actually about 20 auxiliary officers from other towns to help out. Again, that's free service that we're getting from these other towns, and likewise, we do mutual aid in their towns for certain events. Next line item is for $70. We now do pre-testing of psychological and aptitude evaluations for auxiliary officers, so anybody that would want to be considered would have to go through this testing process, and it's a good process. We basically mirror what Framingham has been doing over with their auxiliary, and it's proven a well worth evaluation process. The next line item, which is the most expensive out of all of them, is $4,200, and it's for body armor for 6 officers. And I say 6 because there's 8 of us, and 2 of us are already in possession of the body armor, which is a bulletproof vest, and anybody that's wearing the uniform is basically as much of a target as any full-time officer. And I believe it's protection that should be offered to any one of our volunteers. So the total grant request is for $5,730 is what we're looking for.
Questions from the board? I just have one question regarding the vests. Is that something that is actually given to each of the officers? And then should they no longer be an auxiliary, does that come back, or is too personal of an item that they keep it?
This item, it would be owned by the auxiliary police, and it's an item that's basically given to the officer as long as he's an auxiliary officer at the time that he or she decides to leave the program, that's something that we would take back, and hopefully we can size it to the next potential.
Madam Chair, there's also a shelf life on those too.
That is correct.
So they have to, you know, revolve or recycle those and get new ones, I think it was every 4 or 5 years?
It's about
5 years?
5 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't stay with that officer for forever. They have to replace them.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Okay. Steve?
Well done in terms of the budget, the layout. So just trying to get a handle, as I reviewed the preliminary, the budget you had sent in our packet, your annual operating expenses, or those recurring things that the vests, body armor, one-shot deal for the next 5 years.
Right.
We won't have that spend, so kind of project, let's say, next year, your annual operational expenses that you would, do you need to get CPR trained every year? Is that?
No, that runs in like a 2-year cycle on that.
right.
So that necessarily wouldn't be a cost for next year.
So supplies, you can see the batteries, can see the ammo is another area, so.
What we tried to do with this request this year is put a priority on what we
Right.
thought was the most important for this year. Next year, obviously vests wouldn't be on there. Some of the recertifications wouldn't be on there. But with the recertifications too, is right now, the group that we have, it's kind of like our reappointment right now. It comes up every year at the same time. As long as we're dealing with the same group of people, that recertification schedule would stay on track. But as we have members that will eventually leave and we'll have new ones coming on, that recertification schedule is going to alter from
Sure.
time
And
to time.
there's the assumption that it's going to remain, the membership will remain at 8 at this point, so you're right.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do going forward is keep the number at 8. And it's probably about a year's process anyways to process a new candidate between the evaluation that they have to go through, the interview process. And the other item that we have is that they all have to go through the Reserve Academy, which again, that's out-of-pocket expense for that individual. And right now, to do the academy, that's a $1,600 fee that that individual has to pick up, as well as there's book requirements and there's also a uniform requirement. We don't wear our duty uniforms while we're in the academy, so it's an awful lot to ask out of an individual that's willing to volunteer their time. Like I say, we're also volunteering our wallet to do all this. So
Thanks, Jim.
Paul, and then I have a question.
Okay, so I had the opportunity to sit down with the chief and James on this yesterday, because I had some questions and I wanted to better understand this as well. And one of the things I learned through that meeting was this request could be easily double this, and, because there's a lot of things that are imminent. But this, one of the things we talked about was this is really the request from last spring. So they're
Right.
4 or 5 months behind right now. I did speak, in the past, we've given them like 3,500 every cycle, which is around 7,000 a year. But they also have a lot more officers right now and a lot more guys going through training. And what I said to them was, in my opinion, this was still the request from the spring. We're just trying to get some more information, and I think they did a great job with that. And that there is still another round coming in December in the event that things change or they feel like there's maybe an additional request here. So, and I did speak to that yesterday when we spoke. But I know I came out of the meeting with a much better understanding. Joe probably sees this and has a much clearer, but I don't wear a uniform, so I don't understand the risks and the hazards. And the one thing I think I got from both of them was the vest was just a really, really important issue for them to all have that minimum level of protection, so.
So my question then is, I'm seeing that this is your budget for these 3 new officers. It's not like these 3 new officers are walking around without uniforms right now, because they are in uniform. So is this then, at some point you'd want to reimburse them? Or, at some point they would have to get new uniforms? Because to me, a budget for 14 to 15 would be what you think the auxiliary is looking to spend. So are you looking to possibly reimburse them for this and for these pieces, or?
That could be something that we would look at the next go-around.
And have we done that historically, or?
Not at this time. The other thing, as like anything, prices only go up. I just stated one of our other major expenses is the academy, and to get somebody willing to volunteer their time and then to ask them to go through that, that's probably a bigger concern of ours going forward, not so much the uniforms. That would be an item that I think we'd be looking at maybe the next opportunity to request for funding.
Okay, but all our current auxiliary have gone through the academy, or not?
We actually have 4 that are waiting to go. We got 2 going
Oh.
this fall. The other thing with the Reserve Academy, it's at night and on Saturdays. So to fulfill their full-time work commitment and then go to the academy is an awful lot to ask out of a volunteer. So again, going forward, we may be requesting to help supplement the cost, because just in 5 years' time since I had gone through it, the hours have doubled for classroom requirement, and as well as the cost. We've gone from roughly $600 up to a $1,600 fee in order to attend the academy. And then, like I say, you're also required, awful lot like going to college, you're still gonna buy your books.
Right.
Required books. And then there is a dress code that you have to adhere to while you're there as well. So it's roughly like a $2,100 expense right now.
Okay. But right now, you're before us looking for the 5730.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
I just have one comment. James, Sergeant Schmidt made a very good point that, you know, they both wear very similar uniforms, and when you get out of a cruiser, you can't distinguish an auxiliary from a real officer. You know, so
true.
if someone's armed and they plan to hurt somebody, they don't care what uniform you're wearing. So you know, having a vest is very, very important.
They
to
don't
them.
care what the patch says.
Oh, they don't care what
The only thing they see is the uniform, and if they have a grudge.
Okay.
That's all they see.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can get a motion to approve this?
I move that we grant the request of $5,730 from the BAA, I guess we call it the Runner's Account Fund.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hold on.
Or should I call it the BAA donation account?
Which
I don't know.
one?
It's
Yeah,
all
there's
one
not enough
block
money in the
at this
runner's
point.
account.
It has to
Yeah,
come
so-
out of the BAA
I don't know if we
donation.
merged them, I know there was talk, so I'll modify that to the BAA donation account.
Okay, thanks.
Well done, Jerry.
Yes, thank you.
Good
Very
job.
Thank you.
thorough and,
What's up, brother?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your volunteerism. You look sharp in that uniform, too.
Okay.
Talking to the chief.
So let's just keep going through our old new business, and then we'll come back to the reappointments. Okay, so in front of you is a calendar, dates for the fall. So 1st and 3rd in September, 1st and 3rd in October. I would say that with town meeting timeline, will we need a meeting on the 29th, or will we be okay getting it all done by the 1st and 15th in October?
It's likely we may need one, but
Okay.
we can either decide now as we get a little bit closer, either one.
Okay.
But it could be a
This is just a
backup.
projected schedule.
This is
right?
our projected schedule, yes. So just that we have an idea, and then
So then anyway.
5th and 19th, and then the 3rd and 17th. The 17th is the second night of Hanukkah. Do you think that's an issue? Pull it into the 10th, or we can leave it for now, and as we get closer, we can discuss. Okay,
Yeah, I did get some list of dates from the temple on dates to avoid, and that wasn't one of them. I can
Okay.
double check, but
okay. Good. So, any discussion? Otherwise, we can just,
It's a notification piece, right?
what?
Is it a motion or is it a notification?
I think this is just notification and I mean, it's really just the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays like we usually do. I just wanted to have us take a look at it to make sure those were good. Okay? Okay, BAA grant announcement, our fall award timeline. Sue?
So what I was thinking, and obviously it's subject to change, I was thinking that if you had submissions by the end of September, the first meeting in October would be too close, you wouldn't have an opportunity to, look at everything before then, but you could grant them in the middle of October. I'd like to do that timeline because then we get into license renewals and it gets a little busy in the office.
Okay, so accept grant applications through the end of September.
Yep.
And then we will make our awards at the second meeting in October,
Yes.
which would be the
is
15th.
October 15th.
Okay.
Mhm.
Does that work for everybody?
Works.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if we can announce that, so if you're watching, BAA grant applications are now available, and you can apply up until September 30th, and we will award them at our October 15th Selectmen meeting. Okay, moving on, electronics recycle, request to use the town hall by the Federated Church. They've done this a number of times.
I thought we had done that one already, no?
Not this year, we haven't. I think, it looks like they sent us a previous request, looked like it was in October of 2012. I don't know if they've done one between then and now, but they have done it in the past. So they're looking for September 27th from 9 to 2 to use the town hall parking lot for the event. And when you talked, did they give any kind of a rain date or anything, or no?
No, they did
No,
not.
okay, so we didn't get a rain date from them.
Okay, and since the music festival's going on, it's not gonna be an issue with downtown traffic, unfortunately. Okay,
We need a motion?
we need a motion for this one.
Move that would grant access to the Ashland Federated Church to use Town Hall parking lot on September 27th between the hours of 9 and 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Great. Okay. Right, okay.
Okay.
So this next one, we are not using names.
It's location.
It's location. So we're giving approval for the use of the VFW on August 9th and 10th for functions that are being held there.
Right.
Outside pouring of alcohol and on the back lot.
So I only have one question.
Okay?
It's about containment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know one of the things that we learned about not too long ago when we had that opportunity to go to that
Right.
training was containment was an important issue
Mm-hmm.
around alcohol and its consumption. And I guess that we should state that. I'm not sure who the policing authority would be around that to make sure the containment was provided.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the map, so I mean, I think
They did show, I don't know if you saw that.
Sorry.
They have it
They
taped off.
taped off area.
Right. Right.
So we can ensure the police department that day checks it
So
to
it's the
make sure.
police maybe or whatever, I
Yep.
just,
And signage, no alcohol beyond that point.
right, so I know that was one of the
Right.
things we learned that day that was important to stipulate, that containment was in place, for
Because we
consumption.
do that
Right,
with
I think
TJ's
if
when they
we-
do their marathon thing. They
Yeah,
have
we have
one.
Right, like with when we did the half marathon last year in October,
Right,
they had to have volunteers to say, yeah.
that was stressed in the class that we just went to
Yep.
a month ago, that, stipulating the containment was important so that they understood that,
Okay.
so.
So if I can get a motion to approve this outdoor liquor license.
Move that we approve the outdoor liquor license on August 9th and August 10th at 311 Pleasant Street, Ashland, Mass, with the appropriate containment in place.
If I can get a
The
second?
hours,
Sorry, between the hours of 12 and 6 PM.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on. Okay, so because we are not meeting again until September, and even though our water is at a fairly good level, knock on wood, don't want to jinx anything, I did want to have in place that should we need to extend the ban, if it happens past September 1st, that Tony has the authority to do that. Because I remember last year we didn't, and we had to go back and come back, and so.
So moved.
And the reservoir currently is at 296.21 feet, so we're
2 feet above.
still good. But I just want to make sure we're good. So if I can get a motion to extend that to Tony?
Move that we, go ahead. whatever.
Go ahead. Jim. So moved?
So moved. Simple.
We are extending to Tony
Extending.
the ability to extend the water ban should it need to be. And that's been seconded by Joe. Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
I was reading, so.
It's all right,
Aye,
it's right in.
5-0, thank you. It's getting late, and we're not even done yet. Okay. And we've already looked at the reservoir level report. Next is the setting of special town meeting date and warrant timeline.
So in your packet is a letter similar to what we have issued twice last year for the fall and the spring town meetings. We obviously started with the date of town meeting the week before Thanksgiving. We did November 19th last year, November 18th this year. So backing up, we're requesting to open the warrant starting tonight, which will be open through September 10th for folks to input their intents to submit proposed warrant articles. The period of September 10th through the middle of October, October 15th will be the due diligence period for presentations and discussions. Also, September 10th through November 17th would be the period for any public hearings that would need to take place. We would look to actually close and post the warrant on October 15th. And the no later than date to post the warrant would be November 4th, 2014.
Okay, and so November 18th is our official special town meeting date.
Correct, November 18th.
And we've cleared it with the high school and with the moderator.
I've cleared it with the moderator and the town clerk. I have not talked to the high school yet, but I
I
will.
guess this could take precedence.
Let's do that just to be sure. But we can approve this and,
They're in a little state of flux right now. I'm not sure who to call, but no, we'll take care of
is
it.
that still Eric?
No, it is. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
okay. Like what?
It's getting late. Yeah.
Something else changing up at the schools that we don't know about? Okay, good. And that doesn't need a vote, right? That's just,
We need to open the warrant.
we need to vote to open the warrant. Okay.
I move that we open the warrant for the fall 2014 special town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I
It's
would-
now officially open.
And I believe we did, last time we voted to set the date of town meeting.
Okay, and I'm,
Move to, is that appropriate at this moment?
They know.
Move to set the date for the fall town meeting of November 18th, is that right?
Yes.
2014.
And second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
At 7 PM.
At 7 PM. Okay. Good. And then I see warrant article guidelines.
Yeah, that's part of the package, and the guidelines to the folks, just to give, that hasn't changed since last year, other than, so it gives them an idea of what the articles need to be, referencing to. So if you look at items 1 through 5, some of the questions folks should ask as they look to think about submitting warrant articles.
Okay, so if you're watching and you're thinking of submitting a town meeting warrant article, the following criteria should be considered. Does the proposal address an important need of the town in fiscal year 15? Does the proposal improve a town asset? If funding is required, explain why the proposal is the least expensive, most cost-effective option for addressing the need. Do alternative sources of funding exist, and what are they? And
Just
this
like we have in the
information will be on the website.
Right, we'll
Okay.
start a fall 2014 special town meeting link that'll have all the warrant article guidance, and we'll start posting warrant articles up there with our tracker once we start to collect articles.
Okay. So now, before we jump into town manager reports, let's look at our
Joe, those sheets.
reappointments.
Right, so Susan was able to finish this, so you can either choose to use this or
Okay,
what you have, but that's
so
the.
this is possible,
Thank you.
just one page, right?
Yeah, it's just broken down a different way.
Okay. This is possible motions to use when we go to do our reappointments, if we would like to use them.
If I can just mention briefly before we go, you'll notice on the far right-hand column in the notes section, we obviously have a lot of reappointments. There were 5 folks that we weren't actually able to reach after multiple emails and phone calls. I did speak with Steve Greenberg from the Affordable Housing Committee. He was all but 100% sure that the 2 folks there have been active in the group and wanting to continue. So the question is, we can reappoint them And if they choose to resign from that, or if we don't, then we essentially have to go out and actually appoint them again. So there's kind of two choices there, since we're not meeting again until September. So our recommendation is we appoint them, we'll continue to reach out to them, and if there's a change, we can just move that to a vacancy and accept a resignation. But looking at the names, I think we're fairly confident that the folks are gonna wanna continue, but we didn't get a final affirmative from those 5 folks.
Okay.
We also have a couple of talent bank forms that come in for a couple of these positions that are.
They do. So once this is done, we'll plan on taking the vacancy list and advertise in a couple different mediums all the vacancies. As part of our policy that we did last year, we're sending those talent bank forms out to the chairs of the committees that those folks are interested in, for them to have a look at and make a recommendation, especially if there's more interest than what they have slots. And then we'll bring that information back at the September meeting for filling those. So we have probably maybe 3 or 4.
Probably about 5 right now.
About 5 talent bank forms, so.
Right, so if we do them all with these other vacancies, see if we can get some other talent bank forms, and then do them in our first September meeting, and still give them to the August 31st
Right.
date. Okay? So, starting with Affordable Housing Committee, let's just go down the line. We can either do each person individually, or we can group them together.
Do it as a by.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So let's group them as listed here. Move to appoint Steve Greenberg, Janice Hannert, Stephen Hickey, Michael Kane, Meredith Rosoff to the Affordable Housing Trust for a 1-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Did you say trust or committee?
Housing
It
Committee.
said Affordable Housing Trust is what's written here.
No, it's Affordable Housing Committee, it says.
So I rephrase it to affordable.
Mine says Affordable Housing Committee.
It says
Yeah,
Affordable
well,
Housing Trust.
You look at this, it says for
Oh.
trust. That's okay.
So, rephrase to appoint to the Affordable Housing Trust for a 1-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Committee.
Affordable
Committee, I'm
Housing
sorry.
Committee.
It's fine.
It's getting late, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we had a first, and who seconded it?
I did.
Joe, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Move to appoint Joe Mignani and Paul Monaco to the Affordable Housing Trust for a 2-year term that will expire on 8/31/2016.
Second.
Joe, go ahead and second it. It's gonna be easier for,
I second.
Can I do that?
oh, you can't second
I
it,
second
sorry,
my
never
own.
mind.
Second.
Mark seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay, so that's 302.
Okay, move to appoint Kimberly Wales to the Ashland Cable Access Corp. for a 3-year term that will expire on 10/31/2017.
Why is that one different? Is it,
It has always been.
Yes.
oh, it's always an October date?
It says something in the bylaws, that's the way the appointment has
Okay,
to go.
that's fine.
Second.
Okay, so that was, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Move to appoint Izzy Asenko to the Board of Registrars for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Move to appoint Anthony Schiavi to the Capital Improvement Committee for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Move to appoint Timothy Connors to the Community Preservation Committee for a 1-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to appoint Izzy Asenko and Carol Love to the Council on Aging for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Move to appoint William Gain to the Keefe Tech School Committee for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to appoint Yolanda Greaves to the Liaison Committee for a 1-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Can I ask the status of that?
We're still waiting to hear from school committee. They had their session on July 29th. I've reached out to Lori, their chair. She has been away, so I'm asking. But hopefully we'll have response back before September so we can move things forward. I will keep you posted. Did I get a second on that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. Okay.
Move to appoint Nat Strasberg to the Metropolitan Area Planning Committee for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to appoint.
We don't need to do this, right?
Okay, I was
This
just gonna
is,
say anti-casino.
this is gone.
Well, when the thing was over, we had a choice. We came back, each of the towns, and said, do we want to dissolve, or do we just leave it in place in case something comes back? And
So
we
it
let
still
we let it
exists?
ride. Now, we can terminate it if we want, but right now, it's still technically there.
Well, can we reappoint if it
Yeah,
starts to?
I would say let's not appoint and
develop?
then,
Me too.
I mean,
But that's fine.
because they've passed
You're still
their.
there, right?
What's that?
You're still there.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Still then,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so-
Joe was the appointed member of the Board of Selectmen. I
Okay.
was there as
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
but he was actually part of the town managers were actually not
Right.
Right.
actually part of the group.
One would
so.
think if it reopened up, it would be a public discussion anyway, and then at that point,
Right, and right now
So you
they
could just
had.
leave it open and make it a
Yeah,
vacancy.
let's leave it
and-
open and keep it vacant.
Okay.
Because right now, they are on the ballot
You good
for
with
the
that?
anti-casino, so,
repeal.
Sure, unless somebody
to
else
repeal the
wants it, that's
casino,
fine.
so.
Right, okay,
Doesn't
so
matter.
we'll just leave it
We'll leave
vacant.
that as a vacancy.
So the Metro West Anti-Casino Coalition is,
Being left vacant.
being left vacant.
Okay,
Move to appoint Anthony Schiavi to the Metro West Water Supply Protection Committee for a 1-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
you separate the next one, please. You separate that, please.
Separate.
Open space. Do them individually.
So move to appoint Cynthia Shields to the Open Space and Recreation Committee for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Move to appoint Roberta Suleman to the Open Space and Recreation Committee for a 3-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second,
Second.
okay, discussion.
I'll just publicly state my perspective. I'm concerned about some of the recent actions. I think Roberta has served the community well, but I think it's been a long time, and I'm concerned recently that maybe she doesn't have all of the community's best interests at heart right now, and sometimes a step aside is a healthy thing. So that's kind of where I am publicly, so.
Okay. Other thoughts? I feel like we've given her a reprimand, and, you know, to some extent, you know, do you give someone a reprimand and then give them another 3-year term? Or do we, you know, with knowing that we gave the reprimand, if it's not take her out completely, is it only give her a 1-year reappointment and
I'm not sure we can
address-
do that. I don't know that, I think all appointments are 3-year seats, so I'm not sure we can, unless she's moved into a 1-year seat, I think the seats expire.
they're all 3 years?
Yeah.
Well,
Other
my,
thoughts?
my only thought would be, if you're gonna use that logic, then I think you'd have to apply that to everybody on that committee. So if you're planning not to consider reappointing Roberta, you probably should have done the same thing with Cynthia
Well, I have,
Shields. So it just,
me not necessarily, I look at individuals and how they perform and how they do their job and how they represent the community. I don't view the whole committee. I'm looking at actions, and it isn't for me just the specific recent actions. There have been other things in the past that have concerned me as well, and that's why I am where I am. You know, I appreciate her efforts and her energies, but you know, I'm seeing more and more that I'm not sure that all those efforts and energies are for the whole community. And I'm worried that they may be more individually focused. So that's why I am where I am, so.
If I may, Madam Chair, I've been a member for the past year plus. I will say publicly that I got on the committee because I was concerned about the direction the committee was going, especially with some of the work that I've done on the Fields Committee, et cetera, and I just thought they were not focused on the full plan, the open space and recreation plan. Certainly Roberta is well tied into other committees that are related to open space and has quite a sway over them and some of the recent activity that we've seen, and we have essentially reprimanded her. I think that our committee has finally done the work that it should be doing to take a stronger hand in managing those who we appoint to committees. And to Roberta's credit, she's good at what she does with that committee. I know the direction is often a question for us. I think that we would be, and I understand, appreciate Paul's concerns. I share many of them. But I think from our perspective as the Board of Selectmen, our guidelines are now very clear. We've taken an action. I don't believe that we should eliminate her from the committee based on the one finding. We have the right to go back and say, look at Roberta, you've now again swayed from direction. We gave you the previous warning, and then we could take action if she continues to not just meet the mission of that committee. So I think we at least owe her the right to come around and perform to the strict mission and goals of that committee. And if she doesn't, then we could take action. That would be my position.
So understand the action, when you give somebody a 3-year appointment, it's a 3-year appointment. There is a long and complicated process. You don't just say, I unappoint you, in the event that things do not correct themselves. I think they have equal rights and processes afforded them as any employee of the town. We've had these situations in the past in this community, and sometimes it is healthy, in my opinion, to get people to step aside for a while, clear their heads, reorganize their focus, and in the event that those individuals feel they have come to that place, then the board certainly can reconsider an appointment. But be understood that when you give a 3-year, it's a 3-year appointment, and you don't have the ability to just, in fact, unappoint somebody, okay?
You have to document, you have to follow the process. I understand.
It's a whole very complicated
Well,
process.
you're right in terms of, almost an HR responsibility, but, I think that it's also fair to speak about the Board of Selectmen's lack of direction with not just open space and recreation, but with all of our committees. And I think Mark makes a good point with a reset in terms of how we approach, what our expectations are, how it's conducted publicly as well. So I think, to me, it would be a little extreme, a little harsh to move in that direction.
By itself,
Still being recorded.
So I do think that we, as part of our process, and maybe, I know we talked about a redo on our so-called retreat workshop, that, a goal for us this year as a board is to really get and complete that whole process of our reset with our boards and committees, and get that accomplished. So, again, my feeling is it'd be a little bit harsh and extreme to unappoint her, or not to reappoint her at this point.
Okay, Joe?
Well, I have to agree with everything that's been said by Mark and Stephen, and with respect to Paul. But we as a board took action through Steve's letter, and that should have been, hopefully we're mature enough that people understand what the purpose of that letter was, to get yourself readjusted and do the things that you need to do. And if not, then we'll take the necessary actions that need to be done. But hopefully here we're all adults, we're all mature enough to realize that, okay, yeah, you made a mistake. You don't cut the head off the chicken because they did something that was inappropriate. We addressed it, we followed it up, and again, we even have to take some of that blame ourselves because we haven't been on top of people that we should be on top of, in a positive way, and moving in the same fashion that everybody hopes to be moving in. So I would think that would be a severe step in addressing this issue, I just cannot see not reappoint. I think we already did the action that we needed to do, and hopefully give that person a second chance to see what's moving on, and move on with it.
Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay, so the motion and second is to reappoint Roberta Sulman to Open Space and Recreation for a term ending 8/31/2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
4-1.
Move to appoint John Ellsworth to the South Middlesex Opportunity Council for a one-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
As an alternate.
As an alternate, okay, again, it's not.
Yep, that's okay.
As an alternate.
Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to appoint Philip Williams to the Sustainability Committee for a three-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Move to appoint William Moulton and Daniel Toplip to the Town Forest Committee for a three-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And move to appoint Gene Crouch, Don Jones, John McPartland, and Mark Oram to the Tri-Mount Aggregate Oversight Committee for a one-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Move to appoint Christine Broder and Anthony Schiavi to the West Suburban Health Group for a one-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Is that something that's still gonna be?
At this time.
Until, yeah, at this time, we're
Okay,
still a member.
right,
Okay. Did we get a
Second.
second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Move to appoint Heather Jack, Joseph Mignani, Carolyn Mitty, and Judith Romano to the Youth and Family Services Advisory Board for a one-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
You second it?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to recuse.
Yep, so that's 401.
Move to appoint Philip Jack to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a three-year term that will expire on 8/31/2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And finally, move to appoint Stuart Siegel and John Trefethan to the Zoning Board of Appeals as associate members for a one-year term that will expire on 8/31/2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So let's just confirm with the ones that the emails were sent, and then let's get the vacancies up. So Conservation Restriction Working Group still has vacancies, Council on Aging, Historical Commission, MAPC has a vacancy. Is that supposed to be two members to MAPC from the town?
I'm not sure what it
Because
is.
didn't we do?
Yeah,
Metro, oh, okay,
yeah, because we got Preston, in the MAPC.
okay.
Yeah,
Is
the
it-
board member, and it used to be Dave Manugian, and then Dave Manugian said that Nat should take it.
Oh, okay. We have some one vacancy on open space and recreation, two on sustainability, associate members for ZBA, and Ashland redevelopment. Okay. Anything else for board reappointments? I think we're good. Moving on to town manager reports.
Just to give a brief update on the insurance change progress, you have in your packet a copy of the timeline that we had put out and approved. You can see the items in green are items that have been accomplished. So on Monday, the 4th, we sent out letters to each of the bargaining unit presidents, as well as a letter to the retiree office in Boston for them to designate their public employee committee member. Those are due back on Monday, the 11th, and we expect to move down to the line item that says negotiations begin. So we're planning on having our first meeting on August the 14th, which is a Thursday at 2 o'clock, and that'll kick off the 30-day negotiation period. So at this time, everything is on track.
Okay.
Related to the Amoresco performance contract, I'll let Michael speak to that. He's been working with our owner's agent as well as Amoresco to finalize investment grade audit, as well as preparing the final documents for the contract. So, Michael?
Sure, thank you. Briefly, we're still undergoing contract negotiations. Both our legal counsel's involved, as well as Amoresco's legal counsel. That's nothing, it happens quite a bit. And I think probably the one thing that's really significant is that we decided to take the voice over IP project out of the performance contract and do it on our own. And so that's actually happening as we speak. The first delivery of those phones came in earlier this week. We're in the process of of installation. Had our meeting today with Shortel and Acuity, which is the firm that will be doing the project. So that's really, I think, one major change. The other thing, and Tony's going to speak to that a little bit later, is that we did get some more money than we were currently counting on for Green Communities funding to apply towards that performance contract. So that helps out as well. So anyway, that's it. We expect to finish the contract negotiations up by, I would say, mid-August, and then we can move on to to installation.
Great.
Super, great.
Okay.
As far as the energy manager updates, if you recall, a while back, we received a grant from the state to hire a part-time energy manager. We started those interviews. The applications are open through August 9th, but we started the interview process. We had one yesterday. We have one tomorrow. We'll see what additional applications we get in, and hopefully we'll get an energy manager on board on a part-time basis here very soon, which will be critical not only in working through some of the Amoresco stuff, but also other initiatives that we have around the energy subject. So be good news to get that position filled and get some folks. There's a number of them out there, a number of communities have got these grants, but we're hoping to find a good qualified person to fill that role in Ashland. C-Click Fix update. C-Click Fix was one of our initiatives we put in our budget book this year. If you recall, it's a program, an app, if you will, where you can go around and report different things. We hope to get that online this month and go live. We're starting off with things like streetlight outages, potholes, as well as being able to report illegal dumping or things of that nature, and then we can continue to expand that out as we go. So most of this is in the DPW arena right now, and then just connecting up with the IT department to get all the final pieces plugged in and put in place, and we'll be getting ready to go live with C-Click Fix. So by the time we have our September meeting, we'll be ready to go. So we'll do some publicity once we get ready to actually launch that, so folks have an idea. We may even want to do a forum to bring folks in that are interested. Go, okay, here's how you actually do it. We'll try to put some stuff online to kind of educate the folks. But the communities that have it have had great success with it, and we're hoping to have that same success. As far as the Green Community Competitive Grant, many of you were there for that announcement, which we were selected as a host community to make an announcement for all the Green Community grants, competitive grants that went out. And we received the maximum amount, which is $250,000, which we'll use as sort of our capital contribution, if you want to look at it that way, towards the performance contract. And so that'll be a great boost as we kick that project off as well. So very successful already this year with our grant program. We mentioned a meeting or two ago about Ashland Day at Fenway. Hasn't been all that popular yet. We're actually in jeopardy of not being able to do it because we don't have enough folks signed up. I think we need to have at least 25. They have extended the date probably to the end of this week. For folks that want to buy tickets, if you go onto the Recreation website and drop down on the special events, the Red Sox game, it's on August 22nd. It's a 7 o'clock game against the Seattle Mariners. So we'll probably know by the end of this week if we're actually going to be able to do it or not. So hopefully we'll get some more interest here in the coming days and actually still be able to have the event. So we'll see
So
how
August 22nd is a Friday night. If you don't have anything planned for that Friday night and you want to get some friends together and go see the Red Sox.
Sox aren't giving us much of an incentive.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not doing that great, so.
Those are good.
Okay,
All right, let's see.
I think that's everything, right? We're down to board reports.
I just want to mention on the grant side, just very briefly, we did get, maybe they saw an article in the paper, we did get the STEAM grant for the library, $7,500, so another great grant. And we're hoping if everything goes well and the governor signs the environmental bond bill, there's actually a $4 million line item in there for Ashland for rail trails and bike trails. Don't get too excited because bond bills don't actually have money attached to them. But once you're in the bond bill, then you can start doing the work to actually get, money assigned to that. So we've been, again, very successful with the support from our delegation to get us into several bond bills, this being one of them.
Okay. Great. So, on to board reports.
Madam Chair, I was approached by a representative from Fenwall. They are going to be having their car show the same day as the Ashland Day.
Okay.
And that benefits the brain cramp. Relay for Life, thank you very much, thank you. So, so that advertisement will be coming out. I know they met with the chief and everything's sort of all squared away, et cetera. They are interested in wondering if they could share the signboard with the Ashland Day folks to let folks know what's going on, so I'm not sure how that works.
Absolutely not. Who said no?
Wait a minute.
I spoke to Peter the other day, and that's all resolved.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was all taken care of.
Okay.
In the positive or the?
Yeah, no, in the positive, he's happy, he was thrilled, it's all set.
Oh, great, great, excellent, excellent.
Okay.
All right, and lastly, it's with a sad heart and much regret that I am submitting my resignation from the Ashland Board of Selectmen due to pending personal and professional issues. My resignation will be effective Friday, August 15th, 2014. It's been an honor to serve the citizens of Ashland under your guidance, with the fine members of this board and with an outstanding administrative team led by Town Manager Tony Schiavi and Assistant Town Manager Michael Herdman. I sincerely apologize to those who have supported me in the past for not being able to complete my current term. I'm confident that the management team in place is doing and will continue to do all that is possible to appropriately manage the town of Ashland to the benefit of all its citizens. I wish you all continued success in doing so, and the best of luck. Thank you. That is all.
I don't like having to accept that.
Do we have to accept it?
No.
Yeah.
We don't, unfortunately, the town
I
clerk
know.
does.
Town clerk will have to get that.
Upon
but-
submission.
Take care of that.
Okay. Paul?
Well, I thank you for your time, and good luck in all your future endeavors and where you land. So, thank you, Mark.
Steve?
Thank you, Mark, and it's been a pleasure serving with you, and it's certainly been a pleasure watching you, observing you in a whole host of different capacities in town, and so many good work that you've done over the years, so much appreciated. So best of luck, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. So since our last meeting, I've attended several meetings, one of which recently a ZBA hearing. Yolanda was there as well relative to the Valentine project. That's ongoing at the very beginning stages. I did attend the school superintendent public forum. Tony was there as well, and it was the evening that Jim Adams was offered the job. I'm not sure what his status is, if they've negotiated.
He has
finished.
accepted.
He has accepted, so
He's the new
congratulations to
superintendent.
Jim Adams, our new superintendent. I thought that was a good process, Tony, and I will comment that the other gentleman who had put his name into the hat, Richard Lind, was a very impressive candidate, and I hope that the school committee, school administration is able to retain his services. He's very good. So that attended a public forum that Framingham State University held at our library relative to the transfer of land that's being contemplated between DCR and the university around the two reservoirs in Framingham and Ashland. And it's an ongoing process. They'll be before us at some point. And then lastly, just want to congratulate all the riders who participated in last weekend's Pan Mass Challenge. There was a number of Ashland residents that rode it, including my best friend Bonnie, who did a great job. So, congratulations.
Okay, Joe?
Well, first and foremost, Mark, it's been my honor to sit on the same board with you.
Thank you.
Your professionalism is untouchable. I enjoyed sitting on many meetings with you, other committees with you, and I'm sorry to see you go. But I do wish you the very best in your future endeavors, and I wish you just well. Again, I don't know much more what I can say without getting too emotional. I do have a couple of announcements. If I don't, I'll be lynched by those from the
The food pantry?
the food pantry and the Ashland Families and Children's Services. Because because Market Basket is not in operation at this moment, the food pantry is in dire need of many, many food items. And they're asking that the 23rd of August, we will be at the Farmers Market. Ashland Youth and Family Services will be hosting their table there, and I'll be at the table as well. And we're asking that you drop off some of these non-perishable and non-expired food items. They need the following: canned black beans, mayonnaise, bottled juice, instant oatmeal packs, canned tuna, spaghetti or SpaghettiOs, canned fruit, applesauce, snacks, and shelf-stable milk. They're also holding on August 23rd Stomp Out Hunger, which will be at the
Backstage dance.
Yes, Backstage Dance Center. They'll have fun dance activities, theater games, music, and this will all be at Backstage Dance Studio on Elliott Street. The dance party is free, but they're asking that you bring either a $5 or a $10 bag of food, or whatever your budget can afford, and you can bring those items to that location. Also, they want you to wear clothes that you can move around and dance, but they don't want you to get upset and tight or hurt yourselves because your clothes are too tight. And if you need any more information, you can register your child's name by calling 508-881-8226. And I believe the ages, they have 3 different groups. Ages 3 to 5, the party will be from 3:15 to 4. 6 to 8, the party will be from 4:15 to 5. And ages 9 and up will be 5 to 6 o'clock. So hope you can attend and bring those food items, because we desperately need those pantry items.
Also, they can bring, if you aren't going to the farmer's market or you don't want to do the party, you can drop off your food donations right at the community center, or the police department, or the fire department, or town hall is accepting donations as well, so.
And that's all I have, Madam Chair, thank you. Oh, plus the fact the summer contest will continue. We're down to final 4.
Final 4, there's still 4 left?
There's 4 left.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3. We just
had one last night.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, 3.
So I want to reach out and thank all the committee and committee members who have been coming to the farmer's market. I know I've had to miss the last 2, but I keep hearing positive feedback that they're talking to different people and getting some really good information and meeting some new people. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. We still have a bunch more Saturdays, so I look forward to seeing more people there. Comprehensive plan group, we've had one of our focus groups with certain town leaders. There'll be another one on the 14th, and then we'll be selecting a date probably early October for a community-wide visioning center session. So we'll be reaching out to the community to help us with that. As Steve said, I was at that ZBA meeting as well. They have a second one scheduled for tomorrow, but I heard that it might have to be delayed. So if you're looking at going to the ZBA tomorrow night, double check.
Yeah, tomorrow night's not on the other project, not on the, it's the
Front
bank.
Street.
It's on Front Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
According to the chair, it's being delayed.
It's being delayed, okay. Okay. So Mark, I also want to thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you here on the Board of Selectmen. I also had the opportunity to work with you for a short time on school committee, and your dedication and what you've done for the town has been great. And again, it's the town's loss when someone who does the volunteering that you do decides to move out. So, thank you. We are going to go into executive session. Yes.
I just thought I'd.
Can you tell us who you are and your address, please?
My name is Cal, and I live on Park Road. I'd rather not give my actual. Well, 45A Park Road.
Okay.
And I just thought I'd offer a round of applause for Mark, just because I felt like that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. That's right. Okay. Okay. We are going into executive session for contract discussions. If I could have a motion? It's on the sheet.
It's not on mine either.
You can read
Oh, okay. Motion to go into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, 21A2, for the purpose of discussing the town manager's contract, the public discussion of which may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board, and the board will not be reconvening into regular session. If I can get a second?
Second.
Second. So, we will see you back here on September 3rd. If I know.
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
He did.
We will see you back here on September 3rd. We are not coming back out tonight, and hopefully we'll see you at the farmer's market between now and then, or other places in town. If I,
Jewett, yes.
Monaco,
Mitchell, aye.
Mignani, aye.
and Greaves, aye. So thank you. Have a great night, and if we don't see you before September 3rd, we'll see you then. Thank you.